D6G team just got back from a Warmachine Hordes tournament. Yeah, we did that well. This is episode 11 of the D6 Generation with your hosts Craig Gallant, Russ Wakeland, and Rafe Hollywood Granger.
Things are going to change. I can feel it.
Welcome to another edition of Rapid Fire, the roundtable discussion of all things gaming, coming at you with the speed of an irate wargamer widow. Today's episode is brought to you by Radish Jack. Oops, he did it again. I'm Geekly McNerdigan, your host. Today, as always, our panelists are Russ, I'm the Caboose Wakeland, and Rafe, women are like crack cats Granger. Let's begin. Issue number 1. Since the dawn of time, mankind has pitted himself against his peers in competitions in everything from bloody personal combat to fishing and sewing. It has been the work of thousands of years to come up with structures in which competitors can strive to earn their place on the ladder of fame and reach for a coveted number 1 place that means something. In the world of gaming, we have settled upon the vaunted tournament. Question: what single element of tournament play is essential to achieving a meaningful result? Rafe, the race for the first place is a showcase.
Dice.
Russ, the sportsman, always takes it in the shorts, man.
Competition, good competition.
Wrong! Without the standard trial by ordeal used to decide first turn in most French tournaments, the results are almost entirely meaningless. Issue number 2. Since long before the dawn of recorded history, men and women have attached themselves to each other through social and legal agreements that have evolved and changed over time. Power distribution within this structure has changed. Expectations and legal protections have changed. Even duties and responsibilities have changed over the centuries. One thing that has not changed, however, is that in the end, women rule the world. Question: what is the worst, biggest mistake any gamer can make in his relationship with his non-gaming significant other? Russ, neglect is a source that can lead to divorce.
To not ask your wife first before doing
Rave,
anything.
permission and commission can lead to opposition.
If your wife asks you if you're regretting marrying her.
Wrong! The worst mistake any gamer can make is clearly to allow their spouse to dictate terms. Tuesdays is gaming night, damn it, and no one should be able to come and change it with anything. Sorry. Moving on. Issue number 3. Society functions primarily because we agree upon a certain set of rules and guidelines that dictate how we interact with each other. These social conventions give us a basic set of parameters to guide how we act towards one another in various and sundry circumstances. Regrettably, a common complaint made against gamers is that many of us lack any understanding of these basic rules. Question: how would you deal with a person who approached you in a gaming environment in a way that would be completely unacceptable in the outside world? Russ, I find my kind settles my mind.
Politely ignore him.
Rafe, ignore the boar on ahead for the door.
Yeah, that's my favorite part, is when you're having a conversation and they just wheedle on up and wheedle on into it. I hate that.
Interesting, but wrong! These people only understand one thing: brute force. They are used to being bullied. That's what made them the way they are. So bully them! A sharp slap to the back of the head is usually enough to send the worst case off with a better idea of interpersonal behavior. Issue number 4. Throughout the history of cinema, mankind has faced all sorts of horrible threats. Monsters from outer and inner space, man-made foes of every description. There have been natural disasters, supernatural disasters, armies of other men, armies of every other type of creature known and unknown. However, not every one of these films has been a gem. In fact, many of them were hindered in their quest for greatness by the very nature of the threats they posed. Question: what was the worst bad guy you've ever seen on the silver screen? Rafe, the mummy's no dummy, you crummy bummy.
I don't really know, actually. I'm trying
Russ,
to
the
rack my
blob to
brain.
slob and heartthrob to a running mob.
I'd say anybody who can see the sneakers sticking out of his monster suit.
Wrong! The worst bad guy ever was Voldar, the grumpy Martian in Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. Really, guys, that one was terribly disappointing. Thank you again for listening, and good night.
This is the D6 Dice Demon, and when I'm not tormenting souls in Hades, I'm listening to the D6 Generation. Shouldn't you?
The D6 Generation.
Dice are our vice.
Hello and welcome to episode 11 of the D6 Generation. I'm Russ Wakeland.
I'm Craig Gallant.
And I'm Rafe Hollywood Granger.
In this episode, we're going to talk a little bit about tournaments. Well, a lot about tournaments, really. First, we have a large
Horses and jousting, right?
Right. Well, actually, we're going to have a discussion of not tourneys.
Oh.
Well, I guess tournaments. No, we're going to talk about the big team tournament, went to a Danger Planet, and how that went for us. And then we're also going to talk about generally mulling mechanics on tournament rules and how do you prepare for a tournament, both as a player and an organizer.
For all different game systems.
Right. And then also this week we should say that it's going to be the Mailbag Spectacular Week. So if you're listening to episode 11 first, also keep an eye out for the Mailbag show, which is coming out right about the same time. First, we'd like to, before we get into achievements in gaming, which is coming right up, we'd like to talk a little bit, do our shout-outs for iTunes up front today.
Hoot hoot!
Right. And first, from America, we have A. Nahodil.
Yeah, I don't even think that's close, but
It's the
I
best
couldn't come any
do.
closer.
Right. Trey.
Which was Trey ...
Right.
So.
The iTunes cuts off the names. It's very frustrating. Ray, Miami, by way of Manchester. And I believe Ray was an old-time DACA player, and then he went down to Florida. A person known as a fan of 40K.
I wonder what he plays.
Steerpike and Devil Hornet. And then from England, Craig, who do we got?
We've got Pale King, and from Northern Ireland, we've got Demonkin.
Right, and thanks again to everyone who leaves us positive iTunes reviews. They really help us out. So head on over there and help support the show by letting people know how you like it.
Give us a shout out on the email if you left an iTunes review, but you're from another country, because we're looking. It takes forever to go through all the different countries. It'll help us if we know what countries to look in.
Right.
We want to give you guys a shout out right back, but we can't find you right now.
Speaking of other countries, Craig.
Oh yes, we've been getting several invitations for for visiting from Scotland and Australia and New Zealand. One gentleman from New York City and one invitation to Japan. Anytime the three of us are over in the land of the rising sun. So, Rafe, what are you doing this weekend?
No invitations to Ireland?
No.
I'm bummed.
But
we were asked for a travel log of Ireland, which I did a little bit of research, and I came up with my favorite little pub crawl. But
and I do like that New York City got classified as another country.
I did. Oh no, international invitations. Oh wow, who does the bullet points for this show?
I don't know. Although sometimes it does feel like that.
It is.
And
yeah.
also, we should mention we have two new advertisers this episode.
Yes.
Terrainscapes.com.
Terrainscapes.
Terrainscapes.
RANSCAPES.
Yeah, I'll let you do these. All right, Terrainscapes.com. Pushing terrain, or Terran.
No, that's terrain. Pushing
right.
terrain to the edge of reality, Russ.
Thank you.
That's
Craig.
their tagline.
And, of course, Tabletop Battlefield.
.com.
So check them out, and you'll be hearing their spots a little later in the show.
Yep.
And, of course, last but certainly not least, we have the big Mystery of the Abbey contest results. Right, Rafe?
Yes, we do.
And so who's our winner?
Nils. He
Nils.
wrote in a novel.
He did.
It was awesome.
Insane.
We had actually quite a few really good entries, but Nils went off the charts by not only answering all the questions, forming his answer in the form of a quiz, and actually including bonus questions with the answers that actually even we didn't know about our own
he
show.
knows more about our show than we do, which makes
Which is a little
it
bit scary.
kinda bad.
And we do apologize, Nils, for any psychological damage that may have occurred from listening to the D6 Generation.
But
so many
again,
times.
see our lawyer.
Right. And now Craig will read the disclaimer. I mean, Rafe. Rafe, what's our disclaimer?
There are no legal liability here. None.
Right.
Zero.
None, zero.
Zilch.
Sorry.
Clearly, that was the lawyer and not the English teacher who came up with that on the fly.
So Nils, we'll be sending out your Mystery of the Abbey game, and Hollywood will send you an
Enjoy.
email, and we'll make sure if you want to sign or not. If you do want to sign, we'll make sure to
Yeah, let us know.
sign
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
for you before we send it out.
And let us know how it goes when you play it.
And Nils' answer was so creative, we are going to post it on our website with a little link so you can check it
We're
out.
going to put his entire quiz on
It
our
was
website.
very clever. Well done, Nils. So before we get to the rest of the show, we need to get into achievements in gaming. So, Rafe, what have you been up to for the last few weeks in gaming?
Wait a minute. You forgot.
Oh, how could
I
you forget
did it
that?
again! Achievements in Gaming was brought to us by who, Craig?
Radish Jack, fair play isn't dead. It just smells funny.
And we should say that Radish Jack has been a very good sponsor of the show. Not only did he give a bunch of shout-outs last episode,
Yeah,
but he got all of them. He swept them.
He swept the shout-outs for this episode.
He owns us.
For-
He does.
for not much
Episode
money.
11 brought to you by
Yeah,
Radish Jack.
the auctions were really very affordable this week. So if you want to get your shout-out, you can get them in cheap. They started only 99 cents. So.
99 cents.
But good on you, Radish Jack. Thanks a lot for the shout-out.
We do
Yeah.
do thank you, as does my arm, because it doesn't have to hold a mic.
And now that fair play is not dead, Nor does it smell funny. Rafe.
My arm doesn't smell funny.
What have you
Fair
been up
play.
to?
All right.
Right.
You guys better just sit back because you're going to love this. This is going to rock you right out of your chairs.
Oh.
So, I don't know. Episode 11, I feel like I'm repeating myself just over and over, and that I go on and on and on about achievements in gaming. So, but before that, I have to make an embarrassing statement.
For what?
Well,
We're not even in the same building. We can't smell it. You probably shouldn't mention anything.
Right. okay.
before the show, you want to know what I was watching?
What were you watching?
What not to wear.
Oh, my God.
And
See?
and here's the scary thing. My wife wasn't home, dude. I was just watching it myself.
This is the kind of stuff you can keep to yourself. And this is
Oh.
wait,
Right.
this is in
Yes,
no way.
This is a perfect
in
example.
no way.
There
You're
you
going to
go.
get 2. In no way is this an achievement in any form of gaming. So I think you have to move along.
I love it.
Move
I love
along.
sneaking those in there.
Right.
All right, here's my big announcement. Here's the one new game I played. Blockus.
Blocus.
Blocus. Yep.
That's it.
We'll give it a
And I
chance
hate
for that.
Craig.
And you hate Craig? Now, why
Yep.
do you hate Craig?
Oh, because I hate putting together those plastic models. I'm putting together those grave guards and those skeletons. It's just
I
driving
love
me
them.
nuts. Seriously.
They're beautiful.
There's just
though.
so many of them, huh?
It's just, you know what it is, Russ? It's just going back. I think I'm addicted to the privateer press. Stick it on a base and you're done.
Yeah.
You know?
Well,
So I
mean,
can't do it.
Stick it. What models are you using that you're just sticking it on?
Well, the
sticking
infantry.
it on a break.
The infantry.
Infantry.
None of the
Infantry.
troll infantry work.
Well,
that
but they're not
way.
20 pieces like the skeletons are. Though.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't know.
All right, but well, anyway. So those who have been
Anyway, so
listening
yes,
too much,
Craig,
Rafe's been working
it
on
sounds
his.
right.
Rafe's been working on
Vampire
his
Counts.
Warhammer Vampire Counts army,
Yep.
and he's missing War Machine, I think,
I am.
All right.
And Horde.
and Hordes.
I'm missing Hordes. Epikaya.
All right, so Craig, what have you been up
Done.
to?
I'm all done. That's it.
Okay,
An
that's-
achievement for
that's
being
his-
short.
There you go. Rafe's. I'm going to take up Rafe's time though, because it's summertime and I don't have a lot else to do. I was desperate for some list help on my Dark Elves in last episode, and Kralkantir from Drushi.net and I Am the Walrus on Daka Daka came out with some advice, and I went with both of their advice, and it went well. I won.
Well, achievements for them and you.
There you go. I took 2 really large, scary monsters in one list, which is not generally considered to be a good thing, and I beat your brother John. So the campaign is going well, although getting everybody together is difficult because we're all going off in different directions on vacation. Next week I'll be in Maine, and actually we're going to do episode 12 is going to just be all gamers travelogue of Maine. I didn't tell these two, but
Really?
yeah, I think you guys are it's gonna be awesome because there's all kinds of gaming stuff to do in Maine.
Can we veto this?
That was a joke.
You're going to get a negative achievement for even bringing that up.
I'm looking.
Really?
I'm looking
I
for
veto
some
that
sympathy.
now.
I'm going to be there for a week.
Hey,
There's only
Russ.
so many movies you can see.
Yes, Rafe.
So, the campaign. That sounds like people are going on vacation. I wonder how that's going to work out.
We'll see.
People have already been on vacation and then come back, and we're still playing
He's
games.
optimistic.
So,
We'll be optimistic. No
Okay.
hate.
All right.
yeah.
No.
Pete is still playing and still using tactics and still winning, by the way, which is alarming
for
to
Pete.
all of us.
Oops, the wrong one. Sorry, Pete. It's positive. There you go.
Okay. And are we going to be able to put that up on the website, Russ?
What's that?
That narrative blog?
Oh, yeah. We'll get the blog up there.
Okay.
I just haven't figured out where to put it. But we'll
Okay.
have...
So
we'll have-
I'm writing up a narrative blog on the campaign, so it's kind of like characterful with a map
Along
and
with
everything.
pictures.
Along with pictures, yes. All of the cards are now done, and Mighty Empires versions for Warhammer and for Warhammer 40,000 are set. If you want them, you need to email me at craig@the d6generation.com, though. We're not putting them up anywhere for links or anything like that. And email me with the system and the stuff that you want so I know what's going on, okay? Warmachine Hordes tournament. Russ keeps blocking.
Sorry,
my
go ahead.
mic.
War Machine Hordes tournament. We went to one of those.
We had a good time at the team tournament. I want to give a special shout out to the guys in charge, Andrew, who invited us, and his team. You guys were awesome.
They were great hosts.
They did a great job, and a special thanks to Brian at Danger Planet, who again has an awesome store and did a great job hosting as well.
Yeah, we have a little interview with Brian coming up
And
later.
we do indeed. We have a lot of details later, as one of our segments is an in-depth view of that tournament.
Right.
I can't wait to grill you guys on
So
that.
stay tuned.
Stay tuned. I went gaming again at John's house, Russ's brother, and yes, neither of these guys were invited.
Nice. My own brother.
There you go. We played Sequence, which is a good game, a good couples game. It's a card game with a board attached to it. We played Boy versus Girl, and boys won. We'll talk about that later, too. Then we played Blocus at John's house, and that was a Wakeland sweep. Susan won one, and John won one. And then we played Last Night on Earth, which is, again, that zombie game. That game was actually nominated. We should probably do some kind of review later on. It was nominated as one of the top 5 board games at Origins this year. It's a really fun, basic game. It's a definitely beer and pretzels kind of game, but it's fun. I'm reading.
I like zombies.
Yeah, zombies are good. Blood Air.
For zombies.
Okay.
There's always an achievement for zombies.
Reading Blood Air, the Godless World series by Brian Ruckley, which is the second book in the series I was reading last time, and I'm still about it. It's kind of hard to chew through. There's no funny stuff. There's no witticisms. It's all pretty bleak and bloody. I'm trying to read FDR's Folly by Jim Powell, but it's really, really heavy. Yeah. And I'm collecting all of the Malice Darkblade books for my vacation. By Mike Lee and Dan Abnett. Because
they just had a new one come out, by the way, for Warhammer Online. It's like a whole
really?
thing, yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I need lots of books, and because I'm going up to Maine. I don't know if you knew that. And then movies. It is my summer, so these are. I'm going to actually touch upon a couple of these later on in and off the table. But I went and saw M. Night Shyamalan's The Happening, and I would give it a 5+.
Does he finally get a movie right?
You give it that much?
No,
that thing's getting totally panned by
it
everybody
is,
and their cousin.
and well, it should.
And
be.
you give it a 5+, not a 6+.
I gave it a 5+ because there's always some warped mind out. No, because you've got all these M. Night Shyamalan fans out there that are like, you just don't get it. You don't understand the depth of his understanding of understanding things. I mean, it's just pathetic.
I think it should be 5+, 6+.
5+.
5+ if you're a Shyamalan.
Yeah. No, because those they're fanatics. They're worse than you PP fanboys. That guy can do no
No,
wrong.
do not be comparing me.
Right
to
in the same
That's not even
sentence.
right.
You saw that,
You got a
didn't you?
negative achievement for that.
Oh, yeah. I saw Wall-E all by myself, which is not something you want to see in the middle of the day because A, you'll be in a theater full of kids who are very loud, and B, they'll all be looking at you funny because you're a single guy sitting in the theater.
Whose kid is he going to try to steal?
Exactly. I didn't really like it. I gave it a 4+, 5+. 4+ if you're a kid or have the mind of a kid, and a 5+ for anybody else. And then I saw Wanted, which was the best movie since Iron Man. I gave it a 2+, 3+ on that one.
I've heard that. Now, have you read the comics on Wanted?
Actually, I went and I looked at the comics just to see how the comic ended.
Yeah.
And if you like the comic, I don't want to talk to you.
Well, yeah. Apparently,
that's how
the movie's
warped
nothing
the
like
comic is.
Yeah,
it would be like somebody took a piece of crap and made a movie and named it after the piece of crap, but made a really good movie. See, that's in my opinion. Just having flipped through the graphic novel was just twisted and bent.
Well, I don't know about that, but I do know that you have to divorce yourself from any understanding of physics to really get into that. Do they have superpowers, or do they just
Yes,
kinda...
they have superpowers.
Oh, okay, because
yes.
I was going to say, because some of the things they do with bullets just aren't right.
Yeah, well...
What is it? I don't even know what you're talking about. I don't know the comic. I don't know the movie.
Well, you'll have to wait for Off the Table,
yeah,
my
you'll
friend.
have to, yes.
Well, at least give the listeners who might be like me and say, is it a superhero
Wanted
movie?
Like
is it a
AAA
horror movie?
Playing right now. It's
Wanted is the movie about all of us who really don't like our jobs and we spend a lot of time in cubicles or whatever, and we want to think that we're more important than that. And we wish somebody like, I don't know, Angelina Jolie would walk up to us one day and say, hey, you really are more special than you thought because you're actually a genetically superior assassin.
Oh, that movie, okay.
Yeah. The one called Wanted, Hollywood.
Yes, yeah. With the bullet that says Wanted on it.
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
All right. Well, I got kind of excited. I got to play some D&D 4. We started our campaign, and it's kind of a follow-up to our review of the game. This involved actually getting to make a character from the ground up. And I think my favorite thing about D&D 4 is that if you choose to create a character by either the two preferred methods in the book, there's absolutely no dice rolling. You don't roll any dice for your stats. You don't roll any dice for your hit points. And so it's awesome because your character is... everybody's got the same framework to start with. It's not like some guy got lucky and is really much more powerful than the other guy in the party who's weaker.
That's like Serenity.
Yeah. And it still plays great. We had a blast with our first game, and I'm looking forward to more. So thanks to Dave and the crew for setting it up.
You know what's cool about the D&D character generation is the type of thing where you can just send out an email, hey guys, and then people can make their characters at home and be ready to go.
You don't have to worry about, the roll, doing
Right. Rafe, you and I both forgot something in our achievements.
I didn't forget it.
You just didn't want to talk about it?
Right.
Oh, Rafe and I played a Warhammer game,
Oh, yeah.
and it didn't go well for Rafe.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently, he's scarred.
You've been taking those advices. The advice you said, John, and just beating
yeah,
down
no,
the
not
young.
really. And I think
young
we did do
Hollywood.
something wrong, but I think it ended up being the same outcome it would
Hey,
have
cheat
been.
to win. Cheat to win.
No, it wasn't cheating.
No, I had fun. I just wasn't putting it in my achievements. It's the same part of the same thing.
So,
okay.
and I did want to send a big thank you to the folks at Danger Planet and Andrew and the Privateer Press Boys for an amazing tournament. And all the people that came out, we ran into a lot of
huge tournament.
A lot of D6G fans were there.
Yep. In fact, a D6G fan won the whole thing.
He did, and we have an interview with him also that'll appear on the Mailbag show. So we have some other interviews over there too. And yeah, they were a great time, and we'll talk more about that a little later. And I got to get some gaming in with kids this weekend. I mean, I always play games with my kids, but I got a cool new board game from Europe, and it's a German game, and the English translation is The Black Pirate, and it's a really great board game. It's got puzzle pieces that go together as a board. There's little islands on it and boats, and you move your boats by squirting a little air at them. And you squirt them around the board, and you try to get to the islands and get money. And my kids love it. It's a great little dexterity game. My wife loves it. It's a little hard to get in the States, but for our European listeners, if you see the Black Pirate lying around, you got kids, strongly recommend grabbing that baby. It's a lot of fun. Got another game of Shadows over Camelot in, and is another follow-up to our earlier reviews to make sure that we still enjoy our games. This game, I have to be careful with Shadows over Camelot, because if I bring it, no one will want to play any other game in my trunk. So, which is good. I mean, it's a great game. It's like our fifth game, and we had 4 players. It was everybody's played before, so we had a trader in there. Going along great. It was a surefire win, and I was suspecting the only way this game could go badly is if someone's a traitor and everybody's playing so good. I'm just going to accuse someone to make sure. And I accused Chris, so he counter-accused me, and we both lost the game just because of his pure suspicion, and no one was a traitor. So it was just awesome. That whole
and
element
didn't
of the
somebody
game.
ask if we'd lost that game ever? And the answer is now yes.
Yeah, we have lost it now. So yeah, when the traitor's in there, it gets nasty. Okay, Rafe, did you want to say something about that?
Yeah, I want to see if it worked. I want to go back to the games with kids. You know what would be a really good episode would be when Craig does his main travel log, we could do like an extra long preview of the Black Pirate. It sounds like really in depth. We could.
Are you asking me to split up my main travelogue so
Yes.
I only have half a show?
Maybe we could run a 2-parter.
I'm telling you, if I broke out the Black Pirate, you guys would want to play it. It's a cool game. My
I'm
wife's
just
actually
thinking we should
playing
review it.
Mulling.
Sounds like a lot to
We
to
should
do.
have a little kids. I think we should do a kids thing one day. Also tried Blocus, and Blocus was very fun. It's not a game you can review. I mean, reviewing Blocus would be like spending a review on Connect 4, which would go something like this. Hey, I won. Where? I don't see. Look here, diagonally. So,
Wow,
That's about how
right,
Blocus
right
would
out
be.
of the dim mists of the past. there.
for all you children of the 80s, that one's for
That
you.
was the commercial.
That was the commercial
verbatim.
for Connect 4.
I think I beat my pants on that one.
But Blocus is a very good game, much more depth than Connect 4, but about same level of rules. And most stores have about his demo, so try it out.
Yeah.
Good fun. Also, very, very excited about Summer Rampage, which is Privateer Press does their league thing all year long, but the Summer Rampage is sort of their equivalent of Armageddon, which is something GW did a few years ago, right? But this year they're actually going to do it online with global tracking tools, and there'll be each faction will have a different priority, different weeks. And if your faction's got priority, you can pick where you're going to fight. You get points. You can win territories globally. And there's actually an online tracking tool, which I'm really excited about. I'm excited to see if this is going to be some sort of generic tool that any league can register for and use to track their league. I think that's pretty exciting. So we'll have to see how that works out.
I've been talking to because I run with Russ, the local game club we got up here, and I've been talking to some insiders, and there's some cool stuff. I don't know if I can announce it yet, but I think I can. But there's some cool stuff coming out there for both retail stores and game clubs. But I want to follow up with them and first see what I can
pretty
say.
exciting. And then also, in other news, I'm also excited. This kind of dovetails into Privateer Press. Work with me on this. I'm excited about Civilization Revolution for the 360. It's coming out this week. I can't wait to get my hands on it. And what I think's neat about this game, it's based on the old Civilization game, and really, which is basically a game where you start as a little low-level civilization, and you start like Rome or Egypt, and then you work your way up to eventually tanks and airplanes and everything else. It's turn-based, really strategic, very, very fun. And it's great. If you're a board gamer and you want to try a game on the 360, download the demo. It's free. Just try it. But what I think's really cool about it is they're introducing this idea of the game of the week. And what I always liked about chess was one of the first games I was taught, and my grandfather used to send me these little clippings from the newspaper which had little chess challenges, right? And it'd be a picture of the chessboard, all the pieces were in a certain position, and it would say, mate in 3, how? You know, and you have to figure out how you get mate in 3, and then it went in the back, it would show you the answer. Well, they're doing this with Civil Resolution. Each week they're going to release a scenario you can try that's pre-programmed in a certain way, and you have to try to solve it to the best of your ability, and then you'll be ranked against your friends and people in the world as who solved it the best, which is pretty cool. And that dovetails into Privateer Press, because what they've done is every so often in No Quarter they have a challenge, right? And it's on a page in No Quarter, and they show you a scenario, and it's like, if you don't kill the caster next turn, you're dead. How do you kill the caster? And they show everything laid out exactly right with the two sides. And I just think that's really neat. It's a neat mechanic, and it's a lot of fun to kind of compare notes on how you beat something. So that's cool.
Off the air, I want to ask you, Russ, about the one that's in the most recent one, No Quarter.
No, I haven't figured that one out yet.
Have you read it?
I have, but I haven't tried to figure it out yet.
Oh, well, I cheated and read the answer because I can never figure them out. But what I want to ask you is, the answer seems like something that would not really fly in our game group, and I wanted to know what you thought. And maybe if any listeners out there read it, and I wonder what they think too, just feel free to email me at hollywood@d6g.com.
And still playing Lost Odyssey, really enjoying it. Again, loving the whole industrial fantasy thing like Warmachine has. I think I'm really getting into that imagery. The latest issue of No Quarter has a brilliant, which, by the way, I got to get the next No Quarter if you're a Privateer fan. It's got the preview of all the, with the rules of a lot of the epic warcasters coming from, or warlocks, coming from Hordes.
Yep.
But also what it has in there is there's a great piece of artwork by Matt in there that's just brilliant, and it's the kind of piece I'd love to frame on my wall of just awesome. And I'm really getting into that imagery, I think, a lot. I don't know why, I just really enjoy it. And finally, I too saw Wall-E, and I'm surprised, Craig, that you didn't like Wall-E that much. I think Wall-E might be the best film I've seen in a while.
Really?
Purely from like the whole cinema artsy concept. I just think the way the story was told and the way, I don't know, I just was really impressed with how Pixar pulled it off.
Really?
And my girls loved it. Absolutely loved it. And especially with there's no dialogue for like a half an hour.
I would say there's no dialogue for most of the movie.
There isn't, and I thought that was brilliant. And the way they did it, though, you totally relate to the characters. I thought it was great. And a rumor has it it's already up for possibly it could be the first animated film nominated for Best Picture since Beauty and the Beast. That's the rumor.
Wow.
So I guess it's getting received pretty well.
I guess it's one of those I just don't see it.
Yeah, you got to be there.
I guess
But don't worry, there's
there.
I didn't see the piano either. Don't get it. So there you have it. That's achievements in gaming.
You're listening to the D6 generation. We just love playing around.
Need to add a big unit to your current force and don't feel like painting that many grunts? Or maybe you want to start a new army and really don't have time to paint it up. That's where PaintedFigs.com can help. For 3 years, their staff with over 20 years of experience in the industry have been providing gamers with high-quality, affordable paint jobs on miniatures from the most popular games, including Flames of War, Warhammer 40,000, Fantasy, Warmachine, Hordes, and even a variety of board games. Their full-service packages include the cost of the models themselves at wholesale prices, assembly, painting, and basing. Because they're able to get the models wholesale, you end up with a package appearing on your doorstep full of ready-to-play models at only the fraction over their retail price. Their name says what they do. PaintedFigs.com. High-quality miniature painting at the lowest rates on Earth, even with shipping. Be sure to let them know the D6 generation sent you. And now, what's in the news? Brought to you by Radish Jack, who is looking forward to his next wooden spoon at the Confrontation 3.5 tournament in Lineham on 20th July. Fantasy Flight Games recently announced that their collectible miniature game Mutant Chronicles will be repackaged into a non-random windowed boxes. FFG stated that over the past few months, they've been talking with retailers and customers worldwide. Apparently, people love the game and mechanics, but do not like the blind purchase format. They also stated that in conversations with all levels of the gaming industry, there is concern for the future viability of the blind purchase format. So, they're changing it. I'm sure many gamers out there would like to join in the D6 generation team in saying, hats off to Fantasy Flight Games for this bold move. Let's hope that other companies start to get the message. In other news, the July issue of Game Trade magazine has a 2-page spread on the upcoming RPG, A Song of Fire and Ice. while a game based on George R.R. Martin's epic about the various families of Westeros in a Machiavellian fight for power is sure to be interesting, the biggest news may be that the game will encompass all the novels to date and include information from the forthcoming A Dance with Dragons. Since elements of the game are slated to release starting as early as August 2008, does this mean we'll finally get the next long-awaited book in the saga that soon? Here's hoping it does indeed get released this fall. Winter is coming. And finally, while Fantasy Flight is reducing their CMG games, Privateer Press continues to ramp up for their first CMG release, Monsterpocalypse. More details have been released about the initial product offerings. In addition to the starters and boosters we mentioned in episode 10, there will also be a map pack set in one of the map pack set that will include one exclusive building and 3 double-sided maps. There will also be a blue accessory pack that will include a health tracker, a variety of dice, and 10 blue rings. And, of course, a red accessory pack that will be the same as the blue pack, except they will be colored, well, red. The more we hear about this game, the more interesting it sounds. But why did it have to be collectible? Why? And that's what's in the news.
Hi, this is Jeff Carroll, the host of Podhammer, the world's first Warhammer fantasy podcast. Join me twice a month for the latest tools, tips, tales and tactics from the Warhammer world, featuring witty and experienced co-hosts and special guests from across the globe. Get the most out of your game and download the show from podhammer.net or subscribe through iTunes.
I am the herald of the Northern Powers.
All right, so the D6 generation got to go down to play in a team tournament, everyone except for Hollywood. So I'm really bummed. So I can't wait to hear, guys. So I'd like to know, like, who hosted? Where was it? Give me the 411.
Yeah, so we went down with Craig and I went down to Danger Planet Games in Waltham, Massachusetts.
Great store.
We were invited by Andrew and the rest of the Privateer Press guys to a team tournament down there.
You say the rest of the Privateer Press guys, like Matt Wilson and people?
No, just the Privateer Press gangers.
Warmachine Hordes tournament.
Warmachine Hordes
tournament.
tournament.
Probably say what kind of game it was.
Yes, it was Warmachine Hordes, and the way this was set up was that teams from different stores were asked to compete. So this was like the honor of being the championship store or club that has a venue
I mean,
of the Northeast.
It's got quite a draw.
And they had people all the way from New Jersey coming up.
Yep.
And it went 38 players or so. So let's we got a couple quick interviews first. From Brian, and I'll play that one right now.
Brian's the owner of Danger Planet.
Brian, the owner of Danger Planet. So here's Brian.
We're live here at Danger Planet Games down in Waltham, Massachusetts, and I'm here with Brian from Danger Planet. How you doing, Brian?
I'm doing great. How are you doing today, Russ?
Pretty good. Now, what are you running here today?
Today we're running the team tournament for Warmachine Hordes. It's a big stop on the TempleCon tournament circuit, and we've got a huge turnout today, so it's going to be fantastic.
Excellent. Now, what is the turnout going to be, you think?
We're looking at least 46. We got 46 on paper now, and Andrew's telling me there still may be some floaters coming in.
And your tables look great. Now, how many tables do you have set up downstairs?
Downstairs right now we've got 14. We've got room for a couple more if we need to fit them in there.
And then how many upstairs?
7 upstairs, and we've got 2 set up in a tent out back right now.
Nice. That's a lot of tables. You're good to go. All right. So what's been doing well in the store lately for you besides Warmachine and Hordes?
These days, given the current releases, we have had a lot of excitement around Dungeons & Dragons 4. We've had a lot of anticipation for Warhammer 40,000 5th Edition, Apocalypse, kind of as a tangent to that. Magic the Gathering still a staple. Warmachine Hordes obviously doing very well.
Great.
And the board game of the month or the week, whatever the guys are most excited about, tends to be doing pretty well too.
And you guys are always working on cool tables. What's the next big table project for Danger Planet?
Right now we're sort of working on an industrial theme table. So we've got a ton of like these big giant fuel tanks we're working on and some pipe work.
Yeah, I saw that new swamp table downstairs. I don't know if it's new, but it's the first time I'd seen it.
Well, swamp table it's new. It's newly rolled out. We've been working on it for about a year and a half.
Nice.
We finally just completed filling in, I think it was like 14.5 gallons of resin to make it actually work.
Oh, it looks awesome. I'm going to put pictures on the site. That looks great. Well, thanks for being on the show, Brian. I appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So that was, again, Brian from Danger Planet.
And that was an amazing table, that swamp table. The entire table is swamp. It's actually resin, water, swamp with islands in it and snakes and palm
little
trees.
Snakes. And, yeah. And
I can't wait to see it. Is the link up yet?
I have some pictures, and we'll put them up on the website about the time this airs.
Okay.
In Danger Planet, if you're ever in Waltham, Massachusetts, you got to check out Danger Planet. It is a miniature wargaming's paradise.
The terrain is second to none.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just all of the terrain is amazing.
And they have an awesome collection of merchandise. So definitely thanks again for them for hosting. And then also I have an interview with Brian.
No, we haven't.
Oh, not Brian. We already did
Brian. Now
Andrew.
we're going to listen to Andrew who kindly invited us to this team tournament.
Here's Andrew.
Cool, let's hear that.
And me yammering on with him.
Hi, my name is Andrew Hartland. I'm a press ganger for Danger Planet Games and other stores throughout the New England area. And I play Warmachine Hordes, and I'm here today running the Team Tournament Championship.
Now, this event's pretty impressive. You got, how many players come out today?
We have a total of 38 players today. We're expecting 46, but a few people had some real issues getting in the way. A few people just didn't get out of bed. But 38 is pretty respectable.
And who's our farthest traveling group today?
We have guys that came in from Kenilworth, New Jersey, which is 4.5 hours away. We have guys from Connecticut, Albany. We were supposed to have some Vermonters, but IBM just did some layoffs. So
that's crap.
Yeah. But yeah, a lot of traveling guys. We had a few from Michigan that said they might come, but they didn't show up. So I don't know. Maybe they were scared.
Now, how does this team tournament work? These are all teams from different stores or clubs, or what's the story?
Correct. Traditionally, in the last couple of years we've been running it has been based on the storefront. But this year we expanded it to allow for clubs. If you have any venue which your club rents on a regular basis or has access to on a regular basis, we'll allow you in the game, because all we're looking for is somewhere where we can host the tournament next year.
Great.
And we actually hope that it moves around a lot.
Now, we heard a rumor, though, that TempleCon might host it next year. Is that true, or is that a rumor?
Well, it's up for debate a little bit, because obviously if Team TempleCon wins it, it's going to be there, because Team TempleCon is here today.
Right.
But, if a team is having a problem getting it together as far as what venue they're going to do, I mean, TempleCon is a really good place.
You can either, if you're the winner,
yeah,
you can probably either have it at your store if you'd like to, or you can offer it to TempleCon and say, can you hold it for me?
Correct. Right.
Cool.
So,
well,
good.
If we win, that's what we'll do.
All right.
But we're in no danger, because I just got probably the fastest caster kill. My opponent sliced me up in turn 1, so no danger of that happening.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, as a member of the press, you're just there to report.
That's right. It gives me more time to talk to people like you instead of being tied down to this annoying game system or something.
Exactly. I do my part.
So how long have you been a press ganger for?
I've been a press ganger actually since a little bit before Gen Con last year, so probably a little over a year now.
Great.
Yeah, I was acting as a press ganger for the store probably for another year prior to that, but I didn't really actually get on board until about a year ago.
Now, have you been a miniature gamer for a while, or is Warmachine your first game, or?
I actually played Games Workshop stuff, mostly Necromunda and 40K since I was probably 16, so about 15 years worth of that stuff. I did one demo of Warmachine, and I sold it all immediately.
Yeah. So that's
amazing.
So you fell in love with the game so much you decided you wanted to get involved more and volunteer to become privateer?
Exactly. I love the game, and I want to do my best around here to support the game and make sure that there's a good community, and it just was a natural transition.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, you played in some tournaments yourself recently, though, right?
Yes.
And you did pretty well at TempleCon, I understand.
Yes. I won the hardcore TempleCon. I just recently went down to New Jersey Con and won that. So I figure, you got to sit out once in a while and
sure. Oh yeah, it's nice to give back, right?
Exactly.
It's nice to go to tournaments, but someone's got to run these things, and it's just nice that you're doing that.
Exactly, and that's a great system we have. Paul Shoemaker and Hugh Brown are local press gangers, and we do a little bit of a rotation system.
Yep.
So we get a chance to play, and then the next couple of weeks, we'll be hosting, or sometimes we'll do a team effort like today.
Now, a lot of our listeners play other games and other tournament systems, and Privateer has some unique things in their tournament system, especially how the timing works,
right,
and how painting and sportsmanship and other things are factored in the tournament. Can you describe a little bit how that works for this kind of event as opposed to maybe some other systems?
Okay, yeah. Well, Steamroller 4 is currently in a beta test.
Right.
That's going to be this year's Gen Con format for Privateer. What that is incorporated is there's a 12-minute turn limit. So if you're taking a turn, you have 12 minutes.
Right.
Once per game, you can add 5 minutes to that if you're doing your feet or something like that. And
so that's not a chess clock, then. That's a 12-minute turn.
Right.
Okay.
And, we've talked to Dan Brandt, who's the head of the press gangers, and he said, you guys in New England are doing chess clocks. It's in the same spirit.
Right.
And you can do that if you want to, but the official document is really just trying to make it more approachable for more people, because it's somewhat cost prohibitive to buy a bunch of chess clocks.
Sure. So the chess clock system is a unique thing to New England, then.
Correct.
I really like that system. It's nice because there's so many elements of Warmachine and other games, too, where your opponent's taking an activation during your turn, right?
Mm-hmm.
So.
And you're actually going to get complete equity with a chess clock.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, great. And is there any kind of painting judging or anything like that in this one?
What we've typically done, and it seems to be favorable with people, is we'll take a tally of everyone who has a fully painted army.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, we'll do a random draw from among those people, and they'll get a gift certificate.
Right. And there's no sportsmanship category because it's full like you got to pay, right?
Well, I mean, I don't really...
How does that work?
Espouse that so much. Honestly, from the group of gamers we have in New England, we're very lucky. It's mostly a mature adult community that people are really like, this is my free time, I want to have fun.
Right.
And you kind of get that from our presentation at the tournaments too. We're not really hardcore.
But there's no comp system, right? There's no negative for bringing a list that is designed to win.
Correct.
Right.
You just get a few eyebrows raised if you have 30 Bay Knights, but beyond that, everything is fair game.
So you've seen a lot of different tournaments and a lot of different armies. What do you think right now the hot lists are for both Warmachine and Hordes?
Well, in Warmachine, Epic Blood is very popular right now. His feat is so amazing, and his support spells are great. The people are really playing Epic Blood a lot. So I would say him for Warmachine. As far as Hordes, we've got a whole new round of releases coming.
Right.
And the Epic Warlocks are just
Metamorphosis, right?
released at Origins this weekend.
Yeah.
So it's tough to tell. I think Hordes has a little bit more variety. If I were to choose overall, I'd say it would either be Legion or Circle that really seem to be coming out on top of the Hordes tournaments. And at the very top, I'd probably have to put Kruger up there.
Oh, yeah.
He's just
he is awesome.
amazing.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. So.
Now, anything you can tell us about any of the new Metamorphosis stuff coming down the pike? You know anything about that? Or
nothing that I can confirm.
Neither confirm nor do I not.
Exactly.
Well, thank you very much for taking time out of the middle of the tournament here to talk to me.
Hey, no problem. Had a great time.
Thanks.
All right, and again, that was Andrew, a Privateer Press ganger who ran the tournament.
That's great.
He's really, really nice guy too.
A very nice guy.
So the only question I have after those great two interviews would be, so I know it's a team, and I know it's a team of 3.
Yeah.
But I don't understand. Did you guys play 3 on a side?
Well, how it worked is how it worked was it was basically the same as your average for the people who go to tournaments, regular old one-on-one tournament. So it was a regular Swiss system. The only deal was when they were figuring out who you'd play next round. Excuse me, and we'll go over Swiss systems and how that works in the Mulling mechanics section later in this episode. But so you're paired up with somebody, but you're guaranteed never to pair up against your teammate. And then there were prizes for people individually, but the king prize was for the best overall team score combined.
They added all your scores together.
Right. So they took the score of the top of each team combined of all their players, and the best team overall was the winner.
I see. Okay.
It was basically a normal tournament, except that you never played your teammates.
And did the way they do the scoring shake it out that theoretically your team's best player number 1 played an opposing team player number 1, or it didn't work out
that? I don't think it was that refined.
Yeah, the only team part was basically you wouldn't play your opponent, you wouldn't play a team member, and your score was combined for the big prize.
Okay, and I also got a little confused. So did you guys play with chess clocks?
Yes.
But that's not how the other areas of the country do it,
Well,
or is that what they're moving to?
What he was saying was that officially, if you look at the Steamroller rules online, officially it's timed turns, like most of the most tournaments just timed for the entire tournament round. So most tournaments will say, "Hey, you've got 2 hours to play a game."
Yeah, that's a jip for reasons we get into
Privateer
later.
will try to break it up by time. So let's say you have 12-minute turns or 8-minute turns. I think they were 8 minutes. They're expanding them to 12. I can't remember exactly what they are now. But what they did here was they put chess clocks on the tables, and it was really interesting. They had each player had an hour on the clock. Okay, so if you're familiar with the chess clock, there's 2 little dials on it. Each dial has an hour, and there's little buttons. And so when it's my turn, my opponent pushes his button down, which raises my button up, and that starts my clock ticking. I move, take my turn. When I'm done, I hit my button, which pushes his button up. Now, if during the course of my turn, my opponent gets to activate something, like say he's playing Bane Knights, and I kill something so his Bane Knight gets to move and attack, I push the button down while he moves his Bane Knight, so it's off his time, and then as soon as he was done, he pushed the button back down, and that was my turn again. What that did was, so basically there was 2 hours total of play, 1 hour per each player, but there's also an overall game time, and this was interesting too. It was, I believe it was 80 minutes plus 2d6 times 3. And they didn't tell everybody what the 2d6 roll was. So you didn't know the actual total length of the round. So basically, if neither of you, there's not going to be 2 full hours of game time probably, so you both can't get your whole chess clock in there, right? But if one guy hogs most of the time, then he'll lose, because as soon as your chess clock goes past an hour, you lose the game no matter what is happening in the game. So you've got to get your game done inside of you taking an hour of time. But then also, if the overall tournament time runs out for that round, it's dice down, right, Craig?
Yep.
Dice go down, and it's turn. It's game.
You get to roll whatever it is the dice you've got in your hand are for.
And then it's over.
So 2 wound or whatever.
And you use
that's it.
And then they have tie-breaking rules in each mission if it ended that way.
What was the random part for?
Well, the random part I thought was very clever because if you know this attacks a lot of metagame issues with tournament play, and I'm talking about these more in Mulling mechanics. But if you know the exact time the round's going to end, like if you know the round's going to end at 2:00,
right?
And I got plenty of time on my chess clock, I can be like, oh, you know what? If he doesn't get his next turn, then I'll win the game. So I'll just go real slow. So it reduces the ability for the players to use time as a weapon in the game.
Okay, as an additional miniature, if you would, a tactic.
Yes, right. Because time is there are tournament players. Fortunately, everybody I played was didn't do that at all. But Privateer is very aware of these metagaming concepts, and they work their tournament rules around preventing some of those cheesy moves.
Now, Craig, did you like the time the way it worked? Or did that frustrate you, or?
I personally did not like it. I understand why it was done. It was too much pressure for me.
Oh, okay.
It makes it there. In my opinion, and it's only my opinion, this was 100% competition with no sense of camaraderie at all, even if you had some sort of rapport, because it's either your time or my time, and somebody's time is burning up. So I mean, which is fine. I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
You know what happened at my table though?
What
we
happened
had we had a rules dispute, right? And it was awesome. My opponent in my second game, my opponent was like, I want to go to the judge on that one. You know what? I'm going to take it on my time. And he hit his button. And he went to the judge. Even though it was my turn, he's like, I think you're doing that wrong. Let's go to the judge. And he pushed the button, did it on his time. And I was like, you know what? That's totally cool. I have no problem because it's not delay of game. He's not burning my time.
Right.
See, in a tournament where there's only 2 hours to play, though, I would have felt like that guy was possibly stalling, especially if it's an obvious rule. And then I did it to my opponent earlier.
It's possible that he was stalling, but it's also possible that he was honestly looking for that rule.
Oh, I know, but there's no implication now. He's able to do a sportsman-like thing and say,
exactly, which is great, except sportsmanship matters 0 in this game. In this tournament.
Well, yeah, right.
This tournament was all about the game. It was all about what was happening when that chess clock was going, and there was nothing else that mattered, and that's fine. I mean, like I said, lots of people liked it. I mean, I had fun. Everybody else had fun.
You're just saying it wasn't your cup of tea.
It's not my cup of tea by any stretch of the imagination, but that's more because, I mean, if you put down a really well cooked piece of liver, and I don't like liver, it doesn't matter that it was really, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I was actually asking you not as Rafe the PP fanboy versus Craig the GW fanboy. I was asking you just for an opposing time view. You know, like what just particularly got upset about.
I felt the pressure of the time clock psychologically affected.
Yeah, there is that pressure.
Yeah, I don't know. The only thing I would say is
did he ask you?
No. Okay. I'm just saying there's always a time pressure in a tournament.
There totally is, but if it's a 2-hour clock, which has huge disadvantages, I know. I'm not supporting that system. I'm just saying that the pressure there is delayed till the end of the game and comes in one big, oh crap, moment at the end, as opposed to, for me, and this is all just for me, I'm trying not to make this anybody versus anybody.
No, this is even about Privateer. This is about chess clocks versus not
exactly. That's what I'm trying to say.
Right, I'm with you.
Okay, is that through the whole thing, that pressure is spread out over the entire event for me.
So Craig doesn't hate chess clocks. He just dislikes them.
Right, yes.
Disappointed.
I'm
disappointed in chess clocks.
No hate in the D6G.
Right.
So, Craig, I'll skip other questions just because this is just an interesting conversation to me. So, in the setting where if you and I are people like you and I are playing a 2-hour tournament, let's say, there's no chess clocks and everybody's having fun, there's no problems.
Right.
But, Craig, how do you feel as a gamer if you feel that other person is metagaming, matrix gaming you? What are your strategies to get around that when there's not a chess clock?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. I just wondered if you're like, well,
you just get
I
sucker
just
punched.
do.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
Well, I guess your argument would be I can screw him on the sportsmanship card.
That would definitely be a part of the argument.
Okay, I see. Yep.
But see, there's going to be people with chess clocks that can make you feel the same way. Like, and it didn't happen to me. Nobody was playing the clock against me in this.
Right.
But at the very next table over, generally speaking, when it's not your turn, people would say, "Oh, can I look at your rule book or look at this piece of war gear that you've got as you're going?" And you would say, "Oh yeah, sure. As I'm moving, you can look at my stuff." in the next table over, a guy said, "Oh, can I see the card for that?" "Oh, sure." Hit the time clock, handed him the card.
Well, that's just being a jerk.
I mean, that's my point. Is you're gonna hit jerks in any game system.
Well, that's true. You're not
and
gonna
in
solve
this
that.
particular tournament system, there is no recourse when you hit a jerk, and I know because I hit one.
Yeah. Well. All right. Well. So let's talk. I would like to talk more about the different
Let's
options
go
for
back up.
timekeeping.
Let's go back up because we missed
Where?
some the nice
Okay.
painting stuff and was it?
Yeah,
fun?
I was going to ask that
What was
next.
the
Actually,
competition? Yeah.
So clocks. So go, Craig, Rafe, what do you want to ask next?
I want to ask Craig what the painting looked like. Were lots of people painted?
I would say not a majority, but some amazing paint jobs.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
My experience is about 50%.
I would say about 50% too, but I would say a good percentage of that 50% were like, I'm going to dip my model in paint.
Yeah.
But I mean, it doesn't matter. Again.
Right. But
and there are systems that Privateer Press has in place where you have to have painted armies. So that's, again, not a Privateer Press issue at all. It's at this event, because painting was not an issue, about half the armies weren't painted, but I don't want to focus on those. I want to focus on the fact that there are still painters playing this game that are amazing.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there was a green Legion army that was just beautiful.
That was Tavis.
That was Tavis.
It's not out of me. There was also, even the guys that weren't finished, there was a Signar player.
Oh, yeah, there was some guys, they didn't have...
He only had two models done in his army,
they were
but
amazing.
man, were they good. So I think
wow,
it was about what I would see normally at a non-GT venue. Like if you went to like your local gaming store and played a tournament, in any game system, it's about what you normally see.
All right.
About half painted, unless you have the requirement everything be two colors, and you still get the same thing, right? A lot of black models and two colors.
Yeah.
So it was about what I normally see in any other. If I thought my opponents, all but 3 of my 4 were fully painted. So whatever that's worth.
Okay. Now, Craig, do you want to go into your next section? What the competition was like?
Sure. My results. Let's see. In my game 1, I played Brandon, who played a Signar army that was not painted. But he was really neat, a really nice guy. He started the game by saying he hadn't won in 3 years, which I think he was lying. But it was that's one game. That was my first ever game with a chess clock, and I moved like a madman because I was so nervous about it. And I came within 30 seconds of winning the game because he was about 30 seconds away from running out of his chess clock when they called dice down.
Right.
Oh. So, which I mean, I would have felt awful because he really did earn that win. I mean, if I had won that way, it would have been total cheese in my head. But whatever. But he was really nice. We had a really good time. There weren't any issues. I knew basically how the Signar army worked because I have one. And there wasn't anything out of the blue that I didn't know about, so that was good. And then in game 2, I played a Protectorate army, and the player's name was Brandon was a floater. He didn't belong to any team. My second game was against Tor, who was for Team Pandemic, which I think is in Cambridge, isn't it?
Oh, I don't know.
You
did a better job with team tracking than I did.
I might have totally made that up, actually. Now, the Protectorate, I'll have to say, I've never enjoyed a game against them. They've got all kinds of stuff that they throw out there, and oh, by the way, this half of my army can't be shot at. Oh, by the way, this thing that you have in your army doesn't really work. Now, Tor was a really nice guy. He had a combo that he set up that there was no way I could stop it. And I mean, I'm sure somebody else in my position with my army could have stopped it, but it was using pieces I'd never seen, with combos I'd never seen, and synergies I'd never seen, and in one turn, half of my army was dead, and I lost that game in turn 3. Okay, so you're talking probably about 30 minutes into the game, it was over. And that's when I started to see the Warmachine Hordes shark in sight.
So you're saying you're Fonzie, and you have your leather coat in the ocean right now.
No. I'm seeing the shark.
Okay.
My game 3, I'm not going to talk too much about. I'm not...
He had a rough game 3.
I didn't write down the guy's name, and I didn't write down what team he played for. He had a pirates army, and Fonzie went right over the shark for me for Warmachine and Hordes.
And guys, he really won't talk about it. I can't get the story out of him for the life of me.
I mean, there are some quotes that I actually bullet pointed, and I'm not going to say it. It was just horrifically socially unacceptable behavior. That from any game system, from any player. If somebody walked up to me on the street and said some of the things this guy said, I probably would have punched him.
There was no way he was jesting.
No, this was. I mean, well, I don't know. If I don't know you and I go up to say any of those things, are you gonna? Oh, it's okay. He's joking. No.
No. Well, no.
It's not acceptable. It's completely unacceptable. And I mean, I'm facing an army that has a bunch of little peon guys, like throwaway guys that you put up in front of your army.
The pirates,
skirmishers, anything like any army in any system knows this kind of guy. You get these. Well, his cheap little one-shot little guys were running around, more powerful than my most powerful guy, had all of my special rules, and were better than all of my special rules because of 3 individual models he had in the back of his whole army that I was never going to be able to get to. So the combos and the synergies were
just drove you nuts.
The advancement of his powers compared to mine, basic stuff right out of my first book, which is all basically I had going for me. I was brutalized from the beginning, and that's basically what he told me was going to happen. And I didn't enjoy it, and I think had it been played by a person that I was more inclined to enjoy time with, I might have enjoyed it a little bit more, but I don't think so. And this was where I kind of saw the light as far as Warmachine and Hordes. And I'll keep all my stuff, and I'll play my friends, and if cool guys come up,
you were like, I'm going to eBay my stuff tomorrow.
I did actually say I was going to eBay
time.
all my stuff.
It was definitely
in
a rough
fact,
game.
Andrew and Paul
talked him from the ledge.
Talked me into playing my 4th game, because after the 3rd game, and I'm not a quitter. I don't like quitting, but I almost didn't play my 4th game.
But you enjoyed your 4th game.
I did enjoy my 4th game against Julio, who was for Team Danger Planet. So he was a local boy. And I had a total brain cramp and lost. Oh, I lost game 3 in turn 3 also, by the way. And I lost game 4 in turn 3, but that was because I totally brain cramped and put all my guys in the wrong positions, and that was all me. And he was playing Khador models that I've seen before. Rafe uses them a lot. I knew exactly what I was facing. I knew exactly what I was going into. And so it wasn't like I felt, oh, you surprised me with a super combo of these 3 things I've never seen, and that's why I died. He outplayed me, and I made a couple stupid mistakes, which is where I would go back and say that kind of game I really enjoy. I like the basic system. I like playing when I know that I like. The thing about game 3 was that whole game, there's no recourse. I'm not looking across the table going, well, you're going to screw me, and I'm going to lose this whole tournament. Not that I had any chance of getting anything anyway. In fact, having lost all 3 of my last 3 games in turn 3 or before, I'm not sure how Russ won his award. But
I'll tell you how.
Yeah,
it's all about age of opponent.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But yeah, so I mean, there was no sportsmanship recourse, and at the same time, like I had this really nice painted army, and I'm like, well, that's great, and people were being very appreciative, and they were looking at it, and they wanted to pick the models up, and that was great. But I knew that all that meant was that I was going to be in some random raffle. It wasn't helping me towards.
Yeah, as Andrew mentioned before, there's a
raffle for people with fully painted.
If your army's
armies.
fully painted, you got a prize, but it didn't matter how it was fully painted.
Right.
It could have
So
been
this is
friend,
game 3 is also where I came up with I crystallized this. My problem is not play like you have a pair.
Yeah.
My problem is play like you are a pair. And my opponent
well, they don't tell you to do that.
And my opponent in game 3 played like he was a pair.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay. And then, so if there was any Warmachine Hordes event that I was going to like, that I was going to enjoy, this would have been it. And could have been it. I mean, who knows? But I think this was the last organized Warmachine Hordes event that I probably take part in. I'll play Warmachine and Hordes still, and I'll definitely go to these events because I enjoyed it immensely when I wasn't playing, but I'm probably not going to take part anymore. And I do have to say that I was won over fluff-wise, and I'm willing to admit that there's lots of really cool Warmachine and Hordes fluff out there, but I still wish that it was all in one place for me to look at. And I don't think they ever will, because I really think Privateer Press wants you. This is a game that rewards the fanatic.
Oh yeah,
and in every possible way. So I guess I'm just going to have to live vicariously through you guys for the fluff. And that was me.
Okay. Well, it's interesting because it was interesting that we both had the same record.
Yes.
I was also 0-4.
4.
So it's interesting our points of view on this. Now, I think one of the challenges Craig had going into this is that, admittedly, this is not your game.
Correct.
So, whereas you didn't see the camaraderie I felt it because I was trying to figure out. I mean, I knew some of these teams, some of these stores had tournaments to figure out who was going to go to the tournament. Okay, so
wow,
these are people that are, you know, I would say that if there's a GT level in New England, these were the guys. These are like probably the best War Machine players in the greater New England area, period. Okay? So to even think that someone like me or Craig, who play, you know, very rarely, we play roughly once, well, not rarely, we haven't been playing once a week, but we play once a week pretty often, but we don't play any kind of variety. These guys are going to tournaments all the time, as you heard in Andrew's interview, and so they really know their stuff. But I was kind of camaraderie because I was excited about seeing the other models, seeing other factions play, seeing how they worked, seeing what the evil tricks were, and then trying to use that knowledge to better myself when I went back and played locally. So for me, it was a little different. But even at the end of the tournament, I noticed, Craig, we were talking about some of the new fluff coming out and stuff, and it wasn't your bag, so you were just like, whatever.
No.
But a lot of us War Machine guys are like, oh, look at this. What do you think Madrid's going to do when he goes evil and all that stuff? So that's part of it, and it's not your game, and that's okay.
So what were some of your highlights, Russ?
Well, I played 4 games also. I lost all 4. My first game, and I think the reason I did get the prize for the biggest loser, beating out Craig, and I think the reason I did was 2 reasons. First, in round 1,
that game 1 was pretty
I
good.
died in turn 2. I probably give it the fastest caster kill, which I have an interview with Tavis on the Mailbag show. Excuse me, and he says he kills me in about 23 minutes, but 10 minutes of that was deployment, so do the math on the rest of it. What happened was he had Incubi. Now, here's the problem. He's got this beautifully painted, I mean, he's a great example of a great player in any game system. Beautifully painted army, Everblight army. A lot of thought in his color scheme, as you'll hear in his interview with him. Master player, total gentleman. He's moving forward, and I'm falling right into his trap. He's got one of his units right in my face, okay? And I, I walk Striker up, I'm going to Earthquake this unit, take him out. I've seen Everblight. Sid, who's probably our best player in our group, plays Everblight all the time. So I'm like, no problem, I know Everblight. This is not so bad. But Sid has never played Incubi. And so Incubi, when you kill a model, and I didn't know this, Incubi replace the model and immediately get to activate and charge you.
Oh.
So basically, they're in my face, and I afterwards, and as he's doing it, he didn't laugh at me like, oh, you're falling into my trap. He's like, I saw you doing that. I know you didn't ever play against Incubi before. And he said, I saw it happen. And he goes, I'm excited. I said, how you're grinning on the inside, but I know you're going to kill me. So he did get me. And then it was great. He sat down and said, look, you could have done this and this, and that would have been how you could have counted. I'm like, oh, yeah, that would have been brilliant. He goes, but you said no. You didn't know. So it was really cool, and I learned that lesson, and I liked it. One of the things I like about War Machine is that none of my games did I lose from luck. I lost my games because I didn't know my opponent, and I didn't know their abilities, and I think with just more studying and careful play. And it also rewards the master of the game. These guys play a lot, and they should be able to beat me because I don't play enough to be that good. But it also definitely told Craig and myself that, hey, if you want to go to these things and actually have a chance to win, you got to work for it. You can't just wander in here and get a cheap win, unless you go for the biggest loser prize, which I didn't get. My next round, I played a gentleman named David. He played Circle with Kruger. Rafe, you'll be interested to hear this.
Ooh, I like Kruger.
And as Andrew said, Kruger's a hot caster. Now, long-time listeners remember in episode 1, my hordes got devastated by a Master Kruger player. So I was nervous going into this, and our game went pretty well, and I thought I was doing pretty good. But I made the mistake of not looking for the two-handed throw. I don't use my Thunderhead very often, and I gave up a two-handed throw to his guy instead of taking the two-handed throw on my Thunderhead, lost positioning, and because of the mission objective, I had to bring my caster up to prevent him from winning the game on the mission, which exposed my caster to being killed. So what I found was very interesting in this tournament is, a lot of people's first exposure to War Machine and Hordes is just play the game and kill the caster. Once you add missions in there, it's really interesting, but I found that a lot of these tournament players, they didn't obviously, sometimes they did, like Tavis, I gave him a really easy kill on the caster, but a lot of these guys would lure your caster in the open by forcing the mission and then go for your caster, which I thought was pretty clever.
Yeah.
And you really had to watch the two things at once, which was really interesting.
I like that.
Then I played a guy named Charlie, and Charlie had Scorn. And Charlie and I, Charlie was one of the guys that helped us out with our Tannhauser demo.
Yeah.
Back at TempleCon. And Charlie kicked butt, man. Charlie had an awesome game. In fact, the organizer came by and said, you guys are just beating the snot out of each other. We literally killed all of each other's models, pretty much down to like one unit each in our casters.
That was another one that I got to watch almost entirely.
Fun game.
Brutal.
fun game. I got to see the Scorn Tigers in action there against my cavalry. Catherine Lattimore, my newest painted model, she did a yeoman's job in many of my games, despite losing all the time, but she did really good. And it was good fun. But again, I lost on mission. He managed to get his models in the right spot.
Charlie would be an awesome example of play like you have a pair.
Right.
He played balls to the wall, but at the same time, he was shaking Russ's hand. He was
Laughing.
congratulating him on a good move. He was saying, "Oh man," commiserating on a bad move. But he played like all the way to the wall.
Yeah, and he was one of the guys
That's
like,
great.
I got a rules question, let's put it on my time. He was really cool about that. And again, Craig, I think if you'd had my schedule, play my opponents, you'd have had a different feeling. Maybe.
No, I definitely think.
But that's part of it. I mean, it's who you get. It's luck of the draw. And then last but not least, I played, this is my most embarrassing thing. So remember, I gave up the fastest caster kill, first of all. Then in my final game, I'm playing Hunter. Now, Hunter, the young gentleman, he's 10 years old. And Rafe, you might remember Hunter and his brother from TempleCon.
Okay.
They were there again with his dad. And
yeah.
Hunter played a Crix army with lots and lots of models. And I was so excited. Hunter gave up, like, the dream move for Striker and the Thunderhead, which is you Earthquake a lot of guys, and then the Thunderhead goes up and does his pulse thing, which like sends out electric energy pulse.
Oh, sure.
And it just right up from his base and just wipes out all infantry if they're knocked down. Basically just wipes them out. So he's got his Bane Knights, everything all bumped in the middle. I'm going in there, and I'm killing Bane Knights. It was awesome. I killed I think over 20 models with the Thunderhead. It was awesome over 2 turns. But I got so excited, and I thought I was being brilliant with my caster, leaving Striker behind my little line of gun mages. But Hunter, bless his soul, moved over his Pistol Wraith, killed exactly 1 gun mage, which opened up line of sight from a arc node to Striker, and his casters then proceeded to blow the bejesus out of Striker with some well-placed spells. And good on you, Hunter, for a nice clean win. But sadly for Hunter, it probably lost him the biggest loser prize, and I got it instead. So thanks for beating me there, Hunter, for giving me the prize. That was good fun. And also there's an interview with Hunter and a little bit of his brother in the Mailbag Show also.
It sounds like you were like 10. You were drooling over all of these kills. And
I had a blast. You know what, Rafe? I had a fun time because it was fun to see all the combos. It was fun. And here's the thing, too, that's ironic. I was playing my Signar list, which had the Thunderhead and the Gun Mages and Striker, who all have extra abilities against Jacks, right?
Right.
All my opponents were
War Machine.
Hordes, and finally Hunter and War Machine. Who I just go excited to play Horde Machine.
And that was just pure luck because I played a Hordes army and I played all 4 War Machine.
Right. So it was just total luck, but it was good. They had a good breakup of both sides. A lot of variety there too. And you know what? It was fun just to see because they had the Danger Planet had the new terrain up from Gale Force 9, which was beautiful to look at, and it was fun to see all the armies in action.
Unfortunately, being discontinued, but beautiful to look at.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's a whole nother segment.
So that was the schedule.
It sounds like you had a great time. I'm still bummed I missed it. Sometimes I feel like, Craig, I know what it's like to get beat down in a tournament, and man, sometimes you're just like, I've had enough. But then other times it's just fun. And it sounds like Russ had a good pull, and just had some great guys to play against.
And your body double did great, actually.
Yes, we forgot to mention we sent Sid in as Rafe's stunt double, and now maybe in the future Sid will serve as Craig's stunt double.
I think he probably will.
Now Sid pulled well for us. He proved that our gaming group does have some skill. Sid went 3-1, and he won best Everblight player there. Scoring not only a cool Everblight coin, but he also scored an autographed copy of the hardcover Hordes book.
Yep.
And Sid managed to. The game he lost was his 4th game, which is even more impressive because in a Swiss tournament you go to the bottom at the beginning if you lose your first game. So his schedule got tougher and tougher as he went. So Sid did really, really well. So we got to practice against Sid more, basically, right? If we want to get good at
Yeah, definitely. No, he's a good player.
And
very good.
That brings us to just we don't have to go point by point, but the prize support was phenomenal.
Oh yeah, it was.
Yeah, tell me about that, Craig.
It was just there were coins, these beautiful metal coins that you win for all your different things.
And there was best for each faction. So there's 9 factions, right? We didn't have mercs. There's 8 factions, right?
Right.
And so the 8 prizes right there. Boom.
Yep.
Go ahead, sorry.
And really, really generous gift certificates. I think almost every prize was accompanied by a gift certificate, and the gift certificates were quite substantial.
I got $30 for being a loser.
$30 for being a loser.
You are a loser. You
are
bouncer. The biggest loser.
I am the biggest loser, but I'll take it for $30. I'm not proud.
No. And so I mean that was just amazing.
Well, it sounds like a great tournament.
It was good fun. And we had a couple more interviews I'm going to throw on. I won't put them in here because we're going long, but I'll throw them in the mailbag. We got to talk to Grant, who's the organizer of TempleCon.
Yep.
And
he's another great guy.
Another wonderful guy. He's the one that got us into
fantastic.
Tannhauser. And he talks about TempleCon 09 as well as how the TempleCon Steam Tour works. So listen to that over there. As well as I mentioned before, some interviews with some of the other players I played with. And listen to the end of the episode for the award ceremony. A little Easter egg there.
Yes, the award ceremony.
Anything else there, Rafe?
Nope. I think we're good.
Cool.
Wish I was there.
And we wish you were there too, because then we would have won worst team, not just worst player.
Yeah, well, that's for sure.
You come to us for your gaming news, rumors, analysis, and insight. And if you're not careful, you might even have a laugh or two.
Because that's how we roll at the D6 generation. Dice are our vice.
Hi everyone, I'm Jason, the creator of the Army Showcase over at TabletopBattlefield.com, and if you just spent the last 100 hours of your life paying an army, why not share that army with the world? The custom engine which powers the Army Showcase allows for the creation of army profiles, which is unique as the paint job on your figures. It only takes several minutes to post an army, and once your profile is posted, the Army Showcase has built-in tools to share your profiles with popular miniature wargame communities and other social networks. So head over to TabletopBattlefield.com and start sharing your army with the world.
Off the table. Okay, so it's my summer, so I go to the movies a lot. And I'm going to be doing a few more movie reviews. Unfortunately, Russ complained that all I do is review bad movies. So I'm going to try to do a doubleheader today, but keep it quick. Okay? So, here's the first of two. So there you are. You've deployed your forces on the game board, but you're a little confused because your opponent never even asked you what game you were playing. You've arrayed your army, taking advantage of the trees for cover since that makes perfect sense to you and everything you've ever known about basic strategy and tactics. It's not that fair that your opponent gets to see where you're putting your models first, but that's okay. It's a fun game, right? But when it's time to put his army down, he just smiles at you and he says he's already done it. His army's already on the board and has been all along, and you have to fight him not knowing where he is. Are they in the buildings, do you think? In the forest or behind the hills? He just smiles at you and shakes his head. It's time to roll for first turn, and he wins. He doesn't move anything, but every one of your units takes 2d6 casualties no matter what, where they are, no armor saves, no hit rolls, nothing. You're trying to make the best of it, not to be judgmental, just get the game over with, right? But where are the bad guys? Where on the board are they hiding? They're not hiding. They're the trees. Welcome to M. Night Shyamalan's new movie, his first rated R movie, The Happening. That's right, guys. The bad guys are the trees. They're trying to kill us because we've poisoned the earth. They're mad as hell, and they're not going to take it anymore. Now, the interesting thing to me is that I didn't hate this movie completely, like I expected to, because I'm not a fan of M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong's movies since Sixth Sense. I almost felt sorry for him and his movie here. Mark Wahlberg and Zooey Deschanel, to a lesser extent, are quirky but okay. And M. Night even manages to get the wind seem threatening in a shot or two. Even the basic premise of the movie isn't terrible. Somewhere in here is a decent B-level horror movie. Of course, it is a blatant ripoff from a failed entry in the Fox TV series from last summer called On the Lot, where an aspiring director made a movie where the trees were evil, but that's neither here nor there. Ultimately, the movie just strings so many wildly implausible things together and demands that you take them all on faith, you just eventually yawn and turn aside. No matter how many times a character looks right at you and tells you, you have to believe this, it's a proven scientific fact. If you know it's not, eventually you're just not going to care. In the end, I was more disappointed that it wasn't a total bomb than anything else. I mean, at 18% on RottenTomatoes.com, I was really hoping to be more entertained by its badness. Instead, I just felt like I wasted my $8. Which brings me to my second review, the good one. This is a review of the James McAvoy and Angelina Jolie movie, Wanted. Of course, following my well-established rule of hypocrisy, I'm not going to spoil anything about this movie because I liked it. When you think of this movie, think 300 meets The Matrix, and there you are. Some amazing stunts and special effects, some physics-bending but internally consistent moves if you blink your eyes a little bit, and, well, Angelina Jolie at her easily most lethal. And that sounds like a win-win-win to me. The movie reminded me of those children's stories that prey upon the fact that most of us as children felt a little out of place, like we were not as special as perhaps we thought we should be. You know the type. Out of the blue comes some person to tell you that you are special, and you really do have a great destiny to fulfill. That, again, is this movie. Except it's for adults. Because it's a cubicle-inhabiting daily grind drone in the central character's seat. It's you, or me, or any of us who's not really happy with the hand fate has dealt us, and wishing that something could come along and prove that we were as special as deep down inside we once thought we were. Well, how about if that someone is Angelina Jolie and she comes and tells you that you're a genetically superior super assassin who just inherited millions and millions of dollars and a vendetta against the murdering bastard that killed your father? In a very cool scene, by the way. How's that for a setup? The cinematography, the plot, the imagery, everything conspires to make this movie great. I would give this an enthusiastic 2+ for fans of sci-fi. I really think you guys are going to love this movie. Otherwise, bringing a spouse or something, it's probably a 4+. There's still a lot of interesting stuff, but they might lose it a little bit with the physics and things like that. But, of course, there is a catch. After seeing the movie, I wanted to look at the graphic novel it was based on to see if they ended the same. I don't usually flip through the back of a book, but I felt justified because it's a graphic novel. If you are a fan of the graphic novel Wanted, then A, don't go see this movie, and B, stay away from me. The graphic novel Wanted and the movie Wanted are only similar in that the characters have the same or similar names, and there are assassins involved. Everything else is completely different. I was appalled at the graphic novel. Those guys weren't even anti-heroes in the novel. It's about bad guys. That's it. They're all bad guys. They've killed all the superheroes back in 1987, and they've been running the world ever since. What? A group of supervillains ruling the world? There was nothing like that in the movie. I felt offended by the comic book. There's nothing positive in the graphic novel at all. And thank God, because if they had tried to make the movie like the graphic novel, it would have been ludicrous. But instead, they have an amazing blockbuster on their hands in a summer of blockbusters. And that's it. That's my reviews for this episode. Thank you very much.
For terrain that will bring your tabletop gaming to new heights of realism without compromising playability, visit Terranscapes.com. Terranscape's range of high-quality, handcrafted terrain allows gamers to create a complete dioramic battlefield from the table up, or add that special centerpiece to an existing table. With customization available on current products, custom work for unique projects, videos of work in progress, and detailed multi-view photos of the entire range, it's easy to see why so many Terranscapes visitors become repeat customers. Terranscapes, pushing terrain to the edge of reality. That's Terranscapes.
I'm Rafe Hollywood Granger, and this is the Hollywood Minute, brought to you by Radish Jack, who would like to give you this bit of important advice. Drink beer. And remember, folks, you too can have what you want to be said on the airwaves of the internet. But you gotta bid it to win it. So today's topic is Father's Day. If you're like me, a father in today's world, you are knee-deep in the day-to-day operation of childbearing. Don't get me wrong, I love being an integral part of my children's lives. But sometimes I do long for the way things used to be for our fathers of yesteryear. All I'm saying is when Father's Day rolls around, I'm ready for a day all to myself. I look at this day as a guilt-free day of fun till Mommy takes my Xbox away. I plan on playing all-day dungeons, or to spend all day on a game like BioShock, or wake up late in the morning, paint some miniatures, watch war movies, and then take a nap. Or if I'm lucky, maybe there's a tourney I can go to, or even a trip to the casino. But there's always one flaw in my plans. When I call my friends to join in my all-day of gaming goodness, they all respond, "Dude, I can't. It's Father's Day. I'm spending time with my kids." And I'm shocked, because for all the ways today's father has grown, Father's Day seems to be still stuck in the 60s. Well, I'm here now, on my own Hollywood soapbox, to make a plea for today's furrowed fathers, and to make a positive change for Father's Day to come. Now, we all know that on Mother's Day, the mom gets burnt pancakes in bed, Dad cleans up the kids' mess, and Mom goes to the beach all day, reads Glamour, then gets her hair and nails done, and enjoys the whole day by herself, kid-free. Why? Because she pretty much deserves it. She's earned it, and she needs it, especially if she's a stay-at-home mom. Well, now, today's dad has earned a break too, I would argue. For when he comes home from his long day of work, he's never even put his tool bag, his briefcase, his stack of papers, or his BlackBerry down before he's knee-deep in changing diapers, making dinner, helping with homework, and picking up the toys. So for all those fathers who are pulling their fair share at home, I say, come on now, you need the day away too. So take that special day to enjoy all those long games you never get to play anymore with your friends. And you know, playing long games reminds me of Descent. Ryan, you didn't think I'd forgotten about you, did I? How's life in that pit trap?
Whoa!
Hi, I'm Spencer.
And I'm Philip.
And we're the hosts of 40K Radio. Each episode, we cover the world of Warhammer 40K, including tips and tactics, news, product reviews, and our take on it as well, no matter how warped or twisted it may be. So grab a beer and go to 40kradio.com to check out the world's #1 Warhammer 40K podcast.
40K Radio reminds you to drink hard, game responsibly.
When wives attack.
Okay, they've had 10 episodes to tell their point of view. They played the sounds of Karen snoring in Italy. Now it's our turn. I'm Nicole Wakelin, a.k.a. Russ's wife.
I am Karen Gallant, a.k.a. Craig's wife, and I sleep like a princess. I don't snore at all.
And we're going to give you our point of view on keeping your significant other happy while still being a gamer.
Just some tips for the gamers.
Okay, so we had a conversation/argument via email with the guys today, and it was actually talking about them managing their gaming time and how it affects us.
And realizing you are a gamer geek, that's what you do, and that's okay. Some guys go for days and play golf. Some guys go every Sunday to watch football with their friends. You guys have your little middlemen. You guys conquer cities, you do your painting, and that's fine. That's she has to embrace the geek in you. She has to learn that is what is so special about you guys.
That's why we love you, because you are geeks.
Love you. Everybody needs their time. You just happen to spend your time painting guys instead of playing golf, and that's all right.
And that's fine. Now, the other thing is, though, if you say you're going to paint for 20 minutes, We appreciate that. You need your time. But don't come back in 20 hours and say, oh, you know what? I totally lost track of time. Pinning that one model's arm on took much longer than I thought. Or if it's an hour or a half hour, come back actually when you say you're going to come back to us.
Show the appreciation for her accepting the geek that you are. And if she is so accepting and you say, I'm going to be half an hour, set your cell phone. Put a little alarm on to tell yourself you got to get off and get up there and see her and not leave her alone in the house.
Right. You guys are geeks. You have lots of gadgets to keep track of lots of things. Keep track of your time.
Another way that you can still spend time with your gal is to bring your hobby to her. For example, my husband paints in the living room. He paints on the coffee table. He has his stuff out. So I get to watch all my TV shows with him sitting next to me, even though he's not interested at all. I would never know because he's sitting with me painting.
It gives you the illusion that you're not sitting there all by yourself while he's doing his hobby. He's at least there so he can occasionally nod and say, uh-huh, when you tell him something really cool about the program he has probably no interest in for the most part.
Probably. And if you want to look like a romantic, suggest that she do her hobby. I happen to be a scrapbooker. You can say, hey, why don't you bring your scrapbooking in and I'll paint and you scrapbook and we can spend time together. And that makes you look like the good guy.
So these were our little tips for helping managing your gaming time and keeping your significant other happy. Now, if it's not the time that's an issue, but the fact that you're playing with little metal men, that's a whole other issue for a whole other day.
We may discuss that at some other point. We will be back. Next time we will have some tips on how to get the girls to actually play the games with you, and that may actually be more fun. So you will hear from us next time, and we'll talk to you then.
Bye.
Bye.
Welcome back. And now we want to do our next segment on mulling mechanics. And this week we're going to talk about tournament methods, how they're organized, how they're run, different types of tournaments, and things that you want to know if you're going to be a player in a tournament and an organizer of a tournament. All three of us here at the D6G have been involved with tournaments in the past. And despite Craig and my lackluster performance last tournament.
Oh, lackluster is one way to put it.
Excuse me. We've hosted tournaments, and we've been in quite a few, so hopefully we give a little bit of information maybe you didn't know about or some insight. So, Rafe, why don't you start off with things to prepare for when you're going or organizing a tournament?
All right, so I'm going to do organizer prep, and you're going to do player prep, right?
Yes.
Russ?
Yes, sounds good.
Okay. Perfect. Well, it's reverse order here, so I'm screwed up.
Okay.
All right. When I actually like to run tournaments. I don't know why. I just think it's fun. It's kind of like a party. You get to see, if you invite people, how many people will come. So the first thing I start to think about is just what kind of tournament do I want to run? Do I want to run a uber competitive tournament? Do I want to run more of what I call a fun fluff tournament? You know, people may say, well, it's a tournament, so how could it be fun or fluff? And believe me, there's lots of different ways to do that, like team and things like that. So I just start to think about what do I want to run. And then I think about how many players might I draw. And that leads me to think about all sorts of boring stuff like number of players. And then I say to myself, well, do we have the right kind of space? Do we have the right kind of terrain, tables? I mean, I was very impressed listening to Brian of Danger Planet, because he does have such great terrain, and that's something that I want too. Is I don't like hosting tournaments personally, nothing wrong with this, where it's just a card table with some green felt and a couple trees. Like, I want to run tournaments back in the days of yesteryear with Daka Daka, where every table was, you know, almost games day quality, if not games day quality. So I start to think about that, and I say, do I want to have 50 players versus and not so good tables?
Well, venue. You're talking about venue, right? So venue is going to dictate your size of your tournament.
No, I was actually more thinking of it in the creative size, Russ, where in just my thinking stage, do I go, geez, do I want 50 people? Well, how the heck would I fit them somewhere? And what kind of tables? Nah, you know, I don't want 50. Let's do 15 because the tables will really rock. That's what I mean. And that leads me to think, well, what kind of tournament, you know, would draw 15 players where they'd have fun, for example.
Right. Okay. Like I think that was about the limit of when I did the novitiate tourney at DACA.
Yeah.
Because that was you had to play an army that you had built yourself that you had never used before.
Right.
So
yes, Craig, that's exactly what I was getting to.
I mean,
yes.
That was kind of fluffy because the missions actually were all geared towards brand new armies, almost being in like an exercise environment. So there were I wrote missions specific to that sort of environment, and everybody was playing brand new armies, and you had to actually come with a whole new army that you did yourself right off the bat. So that's one example of a fluffy tournament, because it was still a tournament, scored like a tournament, run like a tournament, but the background of the whole event was more fluffy.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And what I was driving at is that's a self-imposed limiter.
Exactly.
So rather than turning people away and go, oh, sorry, guys, it's only 15, maybe you make it a 1,000-point War Machine all painted, or I don't know. I'm just making it up, but Craig's point illustrates it perfectly.
Yeah, that would reduce your turnout to 4.
And the other thing,
exactly.
The other thing that Craig brings up, which is a good point, is that there are different levels of tournament in terms of the implied amount of competition going to be involved in the tournament, right? If you do a tournament that is purely like hardcore, or like they do with GW with the Ard Boys, or Privateer with hardcore, it's implied going in there that you're trying to be the best and do really, really well. But there's other tournaments like the Gladiator tournaments that we used to run.
Brutal.
But they make the missions so wacky, and the stuff allowed in the missions so wacky that you going in that it's not necessarily designed to be the ultimate expression of who's the best gamer. It's more about just getting together, bringing the things to the table you never get to play with.
Yeah, there was wacky, huge armies,
crazy missions. How the hell do you deal with this?
Accepted.
Yeah. So there's but you want to make sure you set that tone not only when you start talking about it with your players, but also when you advertise it, right? Because you don't want to have someone thinking it's a high competitive tournament when it's really sort of this sort of wacky anything goes event, and vice versa, right?
Yep,
that's another great point, Russ. That is what I'm saying is like, even before I've thought about, I don't know, like promoting it, I'm on a legal pad going, okay, do I feel like I'm going to have a warp gate open up and armies bamf around and people switch players? Because again, that sets the lighter tone. Or, I just want to run a strict, steamroller format, 15 players. Because the reason why I'm harping on this so much is I really do think as a tournament organizer, whatever you decide, if you're just clear, crisp, concise, and organized ahead of time, your tournament will be great, no matter what you pick.
Yep. I think
because
Yep. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Russ.
Well, I think you're right, and I think the other thing is that there are different groups of players that like different things. So it's not that you're going to alienate people, but you're going to get a different kind of turnout than you will the other way. As long as you're clear about what you're doing, you'll get a good crowd of that kind of player, which is fun.
Right, and it gives you the confidence when they're coming up to you being like, this stinks, warp gapes. You have the confidence to say, hey, that's not this kind of tournament. We'll have a tournament for you another time.
And here's a tip for that kind of stuff. Come up with a silly slogan that you put on the advertisement. Like, if you're doing a Gladiator with all kinds of wacky rules, you put right at the top, there's no whining in Warhammer, or there's no whining in War Machine. And then when your player comes up to you and says, I can't believe you got warp gate. Hey, buddy, there's no whining in Warhammer. And then everybody around you just laughs, and the guy's like,
you've got to theme your promotion.
Right. So exactly. But the key is that you want to make sure, the other thing key to success, and Rafe, you hinted at this, is you need to promote the heck out of your tournament. When I say promote your tournament, I don't mean 2 weeks before it's going on, or a month. It needs to be months, plural, before it occurs, if possible.
I agree.
Because people need time to schedule. People will come from far away. People will come from 2 or 3 states away, like you heard in the event we talked about it with Danger Planet. At Daka we used to get people from Canada and Florida and Europe and all. But you got to let them know. And I can't remember the number of times where I'd get an ad request when I used to host a website saying, "Hey, can you promote my tournament's coming out next month?" I'm like, well, okay, but by the time you get the ad to me and we get it up, you're going to
anticipate that it's going to be
2 weeks. It's not going to
get.
get. But if you ran it for 2 months prior to the tournament, you had people have time to plan for it. So you definitely want to make sure you get the information out early, and make sure all the information you can get is out early. Get the time it's going to start, the time it's going to end. Make sure you include an end time.
Yep.
Right, because some people can't stay late, and if you do include an end time, try by all means to get to the end time. Stick with the end time, right?
Yeah, and I'm going to segue into that. But even on the promotion part, just lost my train of thought.
Go ahead.
It's gone. It's off. Somebody save me.
Promotion. Oh well. And the other things too was we talked about end time and timing and organization. So in the prep, we're still talking about prep here. So when you prep, you want to make sure you figured out how many players and the kind of a tournament you want to run. Promote it early.
Yes.
Figure out all your times. Go ahead, Rafe.
Yeah, I remembered. And what you want to do is you have to stick with what you said. Meaning, if you pick September 12th, by golly, you got to have that tournament on September 12th. You can't later then go, we're bumping it a week because we can get 4 more players. We're going back.
You'll lose. Everybody will drop out.
if people get the word, it gets on the street that you're kind of wishy-washy with that stuff, people don't know. Is it coming? They're not going to drive 4 hours from Michigan if they don't know it's going to be happening.
Right.
You know?
And you have to establish their faith, too. You've got to establish a track record.
Yes. And that leads me to my next topic, and then I'm happy to, pass the baton here, which to me is a big thing. Start on time, play on time, and end on time.
Organize.
Yeah. Yes, which means when you're on your yellow legal pad, scratch pad, you got to actually sit there. And I use Russ for this because he's good with figuring this stuff out. And I use Craig for sort of creative things. If I'm like, is this too wacky? He's like, it's a little overboard. But I use Russ and I say, hey, how long is it going to take to play a round? How long is it going to take for people to move their armies? How long is it going to take people to pack up? What should we figure for food?
Well, here's a good tip, too. So what you don't do is sit down and say, okay, so we're going to play a 3-round tournament, 2 hours per round. That's 6 hours, right? So we're going to start at noon and be done by 6.
Exactly. You can't do that.
You forgot a few things. First of all, you got to have time to sign up. What time are people going to have to be there to check in? How long is it going to take you to get everybody written down, all their lists checked, everything else? So give yourself at least an hour before you start time, possibly an hour and a half. Secondly, you got to have a break between each round. You got to factor that in, even if the break's 15 minutes. Make it longer than 15 minutes. Plan for a break of at least a half an hour, because then when you go over, for whatever reason, the spreadsheet software you're tracking with it fails, some player drops his sheet in a puddle, someone, trips or has to go a little long in his game because he got some weird circumstance, someone started late because his mom was sick, and whatever the excuse is you have to allow, you got to have that in there. And third of all, don't forget lunch and meals. People they're going to be on their feet all day, they're going to be, playing hard, they need a chance to take a break. So factor that all in. That's that 6 hour tournament you just thought was really add an hour or two up front. That's 8. Add an hour for lunch. That's 9. Add 2 half-hour breaks. That's 10 hours. Oh, now you start at 10 o'clock and you're not done till 8 at night. So
right,
you got to factor that into your time.
And people will, after you run your first one, people will stay for you for a 10-hour tournament if they know it's going to begin on time and end on time. And this is a big thing for me too. I do this with meetings or anything. Start your tournament on time. If you plan 8 o'clock sign up, start them at hard start at 9 a.m. Start, even if half your lazy bummed ass players aren't even there yet. Who cares? They lose points. You get a bye. You factor it in. Because on the next tournament, people will go, oh, crap, he really means what he says. Right. It is going to start at 9, and they'll all start showing up.
And this is something that players need to understand, is that annoying time limit, and when it's 2-hour rounds and it just feels like, why can't I go 15 minutes long, is if you went 15 minutes long, why can't the guy next to you go 20 minutes long? And if the guy goes 20 minutes long, why can't the other guy go half an hour long? And before you know it, your 3 2-hour rounds have now become 3 3-hour rounds, and that just bumped the whole tournament out 3 hours, and everybody's planning on leaving at 8. Right? So you can't, you really have to cut those turns off. As hard as it is, as mean as you sound, you just got to make that rule. But the clear thing is, make sure it's up front and make sure the timing mechanics are extremely clear. Like Privateer does or GW does, it's a 2-hour round, it's diced down, or it's 12-minute turns, it's diced down. Whatever the mechanic is, you got to make sure they get their time in and players know that deal. Otherwise, the tournament's going to go wishy-washy. It's going to go all night. No one's going to know when the round's going to start. And they're just going to get tuckered by the end because they don't know what's coming.
And the last thing I want to beat on time is decide how you're going to run your rewards. Because don't forget, it takes the number crunching. I'm not a number cruncher. Again, I pass that off to people who are, actually, that's a little tip right there. I'm good at certain things, and I'm not so good at other things like Russ, math. So I rely on Russ and some other of our players to do the math part and to help me figure that part out. And
He's a lawyer, folks.
Go ahead, what?
I just said you're a lawyer, that's all.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, my point is, at the end of the tournament, don't think you're just going to start handing out awards. Your number cruncher guys are going to need time to crunch these out, to produce the awards, so you have to make a decision. Am I doing an hour-long award ceremony, a half hour? It's the end of the day. People are tired. My 2 cents is, get it done. 15 minutes, you're out.
And factor that time into number crunching at the end and leave yourself plenty, because the most important thing you've got to do at the end is crunch the numbers correctly.
Yep.
There's absolutely nothing worse in a tournament than having some player figure out after the guy who just awarded first place to walks out of the room and leaves that he really was third.
Yeah.
Okay?
Or
you got to triple check the numbers.
If you're a player and you walk out with the second place trophy and then you go, wait a minute.
Right.
And you crunch the numbers yourself and, you actually won first place.
Right. So just
really leaves a bad taste in your mouth.
Got to leave that time in there. So
vis-a-vis
I'm not trying to scare you.
organizers.
Please organize them, because someone's got to do these things. They're a big part of the hobby, and really the majority of tournaments out there are run by fans, just like you, gamers.
And people will be
It feels
really
good when you pull one off.
It does,
actually,
but it's a lot of work. So it's best to go with a couple friends to help you out.
I don't think it's it's a lot of work, but not a lot of work to me in an annoying way, like moving rocks into a pile. Kind of hard
but it's
work.
a lot of organization.
It's not onerous work. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
I would like to, unless you guys want to do the other 3 bullets, Craig, I want to get your input on one thing as another caveat for our potential organizers on this same thread, which is the other thing I want to warn you against, and I've done it because I'm not that competitive a player. You can't get halfway through and some anomaly of a rule pops up, or you see there's a chink in your design, and you go, you know what? Yeah, that's okay. Those guys can not go through the warp gate if you don't want them to. You can't do that. The minute you do that, a more competitive player, rightfully so, is like, yeah, but that's not fair because in my game, and I go, oh, yeah, he's right. So just stick to your guns, even if it was a bad flaw. Your players won't mind.
Yep.
You just stick to your gun and go, I could have done it.
As long as you wrote it down somewhere, you just stick with it.
Yeah, and Craig, I wanted to get your thoughts on that because you've also created kind of creative stuff. And what's your 2 cents on that?
Well, the key is that everything you need to be up front. So when your promo and everything, you've got to establish the theme. You've got to be very upfront. You've got to think it through ahead of time so that you can try to avoid any of the pitfalls. But if there turns out to be a pitfall,
which there will be,
do not try to fix it on the fly. Just say, you'll have to interpret it if it's that bad that nobody can understand it. But if player X wants it to be something other than you intended and everybody else has interpreted it as, then player X has just got to deal with the fact that this is your tournament. And, you've just got to stick to your guns. And there will be people that try to browbeat you into,
changing a rule, right?
They might know the rule, they might be able to quote the rule book to you. They might be able to tell you the page number and you just say, well, you know what, for this particular game, for this particular tournament, that rule works this way, the way I interpreted it on the sheet. You just got to stick to it.
The other thing, too, is playtest.
Yep.
If you're going to make up wacky missions and stuff,
you've got to test them out.
Test them out with your game group. And know the mission. And you do want to have somebody there, if not yourself. You do want to have somebody there who is familiar with the rules cold, to be that rules lawyer guy, the go-to guy at a tournament. So because you got to look like you know what you're doing with the rules. If you don't run a tournament if you're not solid with the rule set. Period.
Well, right, and that's what I mean about pawning off responsibility. I am not the rules lawyer of the game group, even though I play a lawyer in real life. So I have, Ragnar there or somebody who our game group respects as, okay, this guy knows the rule. And then they go, Rafe, and I go see Ragnar, and he makes the decision. But everybody knows ahead of time that's his role.
Right.
All right. Well, let's talk about, so that's what you got to do as an organizer, right?
Yeah.
To get it all together. Now let's quickly go down. I'm just going to go through quickly. If you're a player going to a tournament,
have fun.
Your responsibilities are smaller, but there are some responsibilities and some recommendations that you probably want to do if you want to have a decent chance. Well, first of all, enjoying the event, and second of all, at least doing well or doing the best you could have done.
Right.
So firstly, what you want to do is research the event as much as you can. And this is why we tell organizers, put as much as you can out there or as early as possible.
Right. And that includes map quest ahead of time.
Yep. But
Find
also,
out how you're going to get there.
Yeah, but it also is going to help with the metagame, which I'm going to talk a little about later. But you want to know what's going to be there. Is there any special wacky rules you need to worry about? How they're going to do timing, all that stuff. Next, get your lists ready early. Do not wait on your army list idea until the day before. I know all of us have done it. All of us in this podcast have done it. Everybody out there has probably done it.
What are you saying?
But don't, if you can't, make your lists, have them written down, and for God's sakes, people, and this is going to sound stupid, put your name on your list when you hand it in to the judge.
Oh, that's funny. You're right. We have creative army names, and people
everybody
their name.
Yeah.
If you get less than 10% of the people in a tournament will not put the name on the paper, and you can tell them.
That's right.
I can shout at the beginning of every tournament I used to run at DACA, put your name on the paper, and you know what? Wouldn't get them.
Yeah. And you could be like, but I'm Lord Verulian in the Talon of Spite.
Right.
Right.
No, you're Craig, actually.
Hey, Russ, you know what else on that note? Bring multiple copies. The event organizer might want, your opponent might want one.
Yes, multiple copies. Now, also, if you're going to be worrying about painting your army, because it's either required for the tournament or you're just that kind of guy, or you're worried about painting, paint beforehand. Don't wait till the last minute. This got me in trouble at the privateer tournament I was just at, because I waited to finish Lattimore the night. I've been working on it for a while, but I didn't really push myself. And the night before, I had to get her done. I was up to 1 in the morning, so I was going to the tournament a little tired. Not my best game plan, especially in a game that's pretty challenging like Warmachine. I don't know my stuff that well. So don't wait till the last minute. You want to get a good night's sleep. You want to be well rested.
Yep.
You want to be doing breakfast, because remember, people, you're going to be actually problem solving some of the hardest, some really tactical problems for 6 to 8 to 12 hours straight.
That's
for the most
right.
part. That's a lot of work for your brain, even if it's fun work. And so
with a crappy fast food meal somewhere thrown in the middle there.
you really want to have eaten a good breakfast and get some good sleep. And
And painting can get in the way of that.
painting can, and you'll be nervous about it.
Who of us hasn't painted
We've all
all
done it.
night long?
And people have won tournaments going in late, but you're much better off going in on time.
Actually, the Slaneshi Eldar were painted overnight the night before the tournament. I didn't go to bed.
Yeah.
And that was a gladiator too, so that was
Which is
brutal
all
on
night
every
tournament.
level.
And last but not least, make sure you really recognize how much work it takes to organize one of these things.
And let them know.
Respect the organizer. Respect your opponents, of course, and be a good sportsman. But respect the organizer, let him know, and understand that his ruling is going to be final, even if you know in your heart of heart he's wrong. The first rule is the judge is always right, and the second rule is if the judge is wrong, see rule 1. So
You're getting 2 things there, Russ.
What's that?
Craig even did a do you ever notice on it? Wear, underarm.
Deodorant.
Oh, yes, I forgot shower.
Yeah.
Yes, shower and deodorant before you turn it.
And try to find a different color. Russ did not wear a black shirt to the tournament. I did, but it was a Guinness shirt, so that's my argument.
Oh, that is? If it's Guinness, it's okay. But
well, Guinness is dark,
Okay. Alrighty, so that's it. So, Craig, you want to talk about the different ways? Now they're getting more of the mechanics of how tournaments work.
Okay. The different pairings.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, pretty much right off the bat, you're going to be playing a random person.
Yes.
Selected in some way, either in the order in which you signed up for the tournament, or they're going to randomly select who.
And if you have a nice tournament organizer,
what
will they do for you in round 1? They will try not to pair you up with somebody you know.
That's true.
Usually.
Yes. Yeah.
They can't do it later rounds.
If you a mint or something? I thought that's where you were going with
No.
that.
If you have a nice tournament organizer and you know a bunch of carload of people just came in from New Jersey and your store's in, Waltham, you will try to not pair them up against each other because they know they play each other all the time.
Right.
And now in later rounds, because the Swiss system, and Craig's going to cover that in a minute, the tournament organizer really has no choice. But in the first round is the only round you really have a choice if you're using the Swiss system in pairings.
Right.
So a nice guy will try.
Yep.
Can't always do it. Sometimes it's hard, but he'll try.
Yeah. The Swiss system is the most common system in a gaming tournament where you're going to be able to play all the way through. We're not talking single or double elimination where one loss and you're out and you don't have to come back, or 2 losses and you're out and
Why
you don't
is
have
single
to
or
come
double
back.
elimination not so popular?
Well, because if you're going to put your money in and travel any length of time to get
Right.
there, you want to have a full day of gaming.
You get one game and you're done, and that's no fun.
You lose your game and you're done, and nobody wants to do that.
Because what we had was, I went to a Warmachine tournament, got to play players I'd never seen before, new
Yeah.
styles, lost every game, but I got 4 great games.
There you go.
So there you go. Go
Okay,
ahead.
so most people in today's gaming environment go to the Swiss system, and the Swiss system is great because it pairs up in the second round on losers with losers and winners with winners. So that
Aren't
in
we all
every
just
r-
winners?
What's that?
Aren't we all just really winners?
No, that's crap.
Some more
Your
than
public
others.
school
Oh.
teacher tells you.
Like PC stuff, okay.
I know. I took that class. Anyway,
ahead.
okay. So, for instance, I lost my first game last weekend, and my second game was with a person who also lost. So the theory is that as you go along, you're playing people who are of a similar ability
Doing as well as
level.
you are today.
Exactly, doing as well as you are today. Exactly.
Right. So in round 2, if you lost your first game, the person you play in round 2 also lost his first game.
Yes.
If you won your first game, the person you're playing in round 2 also won.
Yeah.
And so when you get to later rounds, if you played someone in round 3 who had won both his games, you would have also won both your games, right?
Or one win and a loss, or
Right.
tie.
So
yeah.
your current ranking of the tournament dictates who you're going to fight.
Exactly. And so after your first game, the rest of your day should be spent with playing people of a similar ability level as you, which makes it more fun for you, and also as a learning experience, you're trying to get better as you go along with people who are in the same sort of boat you're in.
Unless you lose all your games, in which case you prove
End
that
up with a
you are at the
10-year-old
ability
beating
level of
you.
no one in the
Yes.
room.
Yes,
You are lower.
True. How does that feel? Oh, wait, I know how that feels.
I don't know. You didn't lose to a 10-year-old. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. But yeah, so that's how the Swiss system works. I'm not quite sure how those
right.
other 2 bullet points fit in with pairing.
The only other thing about that is, to what tournament organizers will try to do is, in the Swiss system, you never play the same person twice, even if he's ranked to you. So if you've already played the guy in round 1 and you beat him, and then in round 2 you lose and you beat someone else, you're technically both 1-1, but in round 3 you went up playing the same person.
Yep.
And also, what they can try to do.
Also, they're going to try to keep you on different tables throughout the day, so that you don't go back to a table that you've already played on.
Not every tournament organizer will do that,
right?
And it only matters in tournaments where the terrain is fixed. So, like, there's a snow table and a swamp table and a mountain table, right? So that's the only time that matters. If the tables are all the same with 2 trees and a hill, it doesn't matter.
Right. Okay.
Sorry. That's pretty much pairing. This was not important.
Well, you know what I was thinking about is that this is all super important and goes back to the time issue, because now if you're switching players and switching terrain and switching tables, if you want to do that for your tournament, which is a good thing, then you got to factor that time in to do that.
Right. Now, let's talk. I'll go a little bit about scoring and how tournaments can work. We'll share this one a little bit because the metagame section is kind of me too. But scoring, how this works is there's different options for tournament organizers, right? Usually, if there's any other part of the tournament, like if there's best painted or anything else, that's usually left out of the Swiss part. Okay, the Swiss part is purely the best general category usually, and some tournaments will be purely on win-loss, right? So if you win a game, you got a 1 in the win column. If you lose a game, you go to a 0 column. That's how it works. Now the question is going to come though: how do you break ties? Well, that's why some tournaments go to different systems. Some tournaments use victory points. So not only do you win, but how much do you win by, right? And typically that's done with VPs. The pro of the VP system is it makes it so there's never any ties, right? And the con of the VP system is it leads to victory point sniping, right? Which comes into the time section of the hobby. If you have a tournament
or the metagame section,
what comes into metagame, right? Because if you have a system where I can just win by victory points alone, or the victory points dictate my overall ranking in the game, I can simply shoot a couple of your units and then play very, very slowly, pushing time out, having the victory point advantage, winning, and that kind of thing. So there's different ways you can do that. You can, of course, if the person with the most victory points wins, then the guy's going to try to get if someone gets a lucky opponent and gets a huge crush on some opponent that's not very good, his game counts more than against a player who had a tougher day. So in other words, if you happen to play some of the best players in the area, you're not going to get a brutal defeat over the guy, so you won't get as many victory points. But the guy who played one of the worst players in the area, he gets a crushing victory, gets towards 2,000 victory points. He now is ranked higher than you, even though he got the lucky chance of playing a bad guy. So there's pros and cons to the victory point system, and there's different ways to look at it. And that's why a lot of tournaments are changing away from just victory points mattering towards scoring. But it's an option. And then there's sportsmanship as being a factor, right? Some tournaments... well, Craig, what do you think about sportsmanship being a factor?
Sportsmanship, I think, is really difficult because it's so subjective.
Right.
And the problem is people using sportsmanship, which again goes to the metagame, as another tool. We know people who do it. If I'm going up against Russ, and I know Russ and I are of similar abilities and we have a similar ranking right now in the tournament, I'm going to give him a really low sportsmanship score because I know that's going to hurt him.
Right.
There are people who do that. There are also people who will go to you during the game and say, look, sportsmanship is silly. Why don't you give me max points and I'll give you max points, and then we both get max points and we don't have to worry about it.
Right.
So what you want is if you're
and
going
Craig,
to...
there's people who say that and then lie and then don't do it.
So what you want if you're going to grade your sportsmanship is you want to have some kind of system that makes it as objective as possible, and there's lots of different ways you can do that. Locally, Ragnar, one of our major gamers in the area, has come up with a whole slew of questions, which is great. There's like 20 questions, and each game you get a certain random number of those questions, and the questions are as objective as they can be. Did he have X number of models or whatever? I can't remember any of the specifics.
Right.
In Australia, Jeff in Podhammer covered this a couple times. In one particular type of tournament that they talked about, you don't score your sportsmanship until the end of the whole tournament. So you've played everybody, and then you're allowed basically your average sportsmanship score that you give has to be the average score. So if it's out of 5, then you have to have given a majority of 3s, and then you can go up 2 or down 2 over the course of the whole thing. So you can give a couple guys a good one, or give a couple guys a bad one, or really ding one person, or really give one really good one, so that overall it's all average, and only a really good person or a really bad person is being punished or rewarded.
Want to hear my sportsmanship idea?
Sure.
I'm so excited to talk about
Yeah, okay, good.
I just thought of it now.
Yeah?
All right, so...
Does it have anything to do with a hammer?
No.
No. Okay.
It has to do with John McEnroe.
Uh-oh.
All right, you ready?
John McEnroe.
Here we go. I'm wildly veering off course, but bear with me.
Oh, are you blind?
Unlike Hollywood, I will make it back on the road. So there's two extremes in sportsmanship, right? You can make sportsmanship, and we talk about this a lot because it's very hotly debated. Sportsmanship and comp are part and parcel, really, but sportsmanship is a huge debate about tournament running. To the point where you really have to play some kind of metagame and have good sportsmanship, or you can't possibly win a tournament. Typically the way they're running for GW, to the point of privateers, the opposite extreme, which is you can't possibly make sportsmanship fair. So screw it, we're not going to bother with it, and just hope everybody's nice to each other. I like the idea of doing it like sports, real sports. Sports do.
Like that John McEnroe plays.
Let's look at tennis, right? So in tennis, there's no sportsmanship score at Wimbledon. You either beat the crap out of your opponent and win, or you lose and you lose. However, you can be yell and scream and be a real jerk, but there's a line you can't cross with the judge, right? And if you do cross them, you get
dinged.
And in other sports like soccer and baseball and other things,
yellow card.
So here's what I think should happen. Every player should be given a red card.
Uh-huh.
All right, no sportsmanship score. If you you only have one red card.
Correct.
You only have one.
Each player has one.
Right.
Yep.
So you have one to give away. You play a game that is so bad, like your guy.
Yeah.
Your miserable opponent.
Right.
Is so bad, you give him the red card.
Uh-huh.
You just throw it down.
Yep.
You get a red card, buddy. Suck it up. And then you leave.
Yep.
That red card goes against him. If a player gets a certain number of red cards, whatever that number is, he can't win.
Uh-huh.
Period.
Gotcha.
So
I don't know. That takes some serious cojones.
Well, or it could be secret. You could secretly record the red card if you want to, and not
That's
actually
kind of
throw the
more
guy's
in
face.
line with the Australian system there, where you've got that one opportunity.
Yeah.
That would be like a white card and a red card, and you're only allowed to use one.
Right. But I think that's kind of neat because you don't have to then beg for the guy to give you a good score because there's no good score.
Yep.
And you're not really going to drill someone unless they're a real jerk because you only have one anyway. The guy's going to get two. So two people have to decide to randomly drill the same dude.
For that to you know what? That's a pretty good
The only way it can become a problem is if there's one guy that everybody knows is really, really good. They just want to get him out of the game.
Right.
And they just do it to him.
But a lot like protecting the president. If somebody wants to do it, they're going to be able to do it.
Well, that...
So if you've got a whole group of people who really want to get to somebody...
Well, unless you have the privateer system, which is basically screwing you.
Right.
But what you could do is the judge, though, could also have to be the final arbitrator, and he could, if it looks, he might watch... I mean, the other thing you could do, too, is as a judge, as soon as someone gets a red card, you start watching their later games.
Right. Yep.
And if someone else gets a red card and he's clearly playing nicely, you just, maybe counter red card him. Something. I don't know.
I take exception to that, Russ.
Oh, yeah? Why?
I do go back on track when I go off track.
All right.
No, that's a really good idea. I like it, but it has to be secret. You hand it to the judge, and then I like your idea, too. The judge can kind of monitor.
I like it being a big red card in your pocket. You start to finger as your opponent gets more going. I think it'll just, in the end, people would just not be that bad, I think. Yeah. Anyway.
Right, and the other thing that by the judge just sort of watching, because the person who gives the red card could be a complete a-hole.
Yep.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, he could just be, like, doesn't interface with the world properly. And the judge can buy and go, that guy's an idiot.
And if you give your red card away too early, you've given away your one card. So you're not going to give it away unless this guy you just know, like the guy you play. No one could be worse than this.
Right. And if there's somebody worse, I just won't play anymore.
Right. So, okay, let's chat about, briefly, comp.
That's tough.
Yeah. Now
we could have an whole episode on comp.
Yeah, we could. Well, I mean, I don't think we want to go too much into
right.
comp. There's no comp in Privateer Press.
There's
because you would think that a balanced game would have already taken that into consideration.
That's the theory.
And that's the theory.
So comp is really there to say there are some army lists we feel are inappropriate at a tournament.
Right.
And so we would like to encourage players to not take those combos.
Exactly.
And what we're going to do is we're going to reward it somehow, and either there are specific comp rules, which GW used to do, which is if you don't have X number of troop choices, then we will ding you physically as a judge. Or make it a jury of your peers, which is basically your opponent, while he's rating your sportsmanship, also rates your army composition.
Correct.
Which then becomes very arbitrary.
Again.
Unless the questions are very specific, like how many troop choices did you bring?
Right.
In which case, you might as well just have the judge do it, and I'd probably just take time. So I think I like comp in a venue where you're trying to go for a specific kind of game venue. Like, I would love to see extreme comp at a gladiator where you actually get bonus points for having weird crap in your army. Like, did he have less than one Titan? -1. Kind of thing. That's just me.
I've been thinking a lot about comp because I listen to Podhammer and I want to get back into Warhammer. When I hear those guys talk about the comp problems, I just scratch my head and go, oh, yeah, I remember those days. And I'm not bashing GW. I just, because it's so subjective. What one person thinks is cheesy, another person might think is a creative and an aggressive list design. I mean, hey, let's face it, people play tournaments to win.
I like that Privateer is just gone. And,
me too. I just love how it's gone.
I know people
don't.
Yeah, I know. All right, next is...
That's why we're just going to move on.
Right. So there's other things you can throw in there. Painting, another score.
Yes, let's talk about something that's completely non-controversial, like counting painting.
Well, unfortunately, painting is controversial. It's too bad. Well, go ahead, Craig. So what's the scoop on painting?
Well, the painting is another controversial. Are you going to judge that they're just painted? Are there going to be bonus points for better painting? Who's going to be judging the better painting?
And Craig, my favorite point is, what do you mean by painted? Don't you love getting that as an event organizer? You know, they're like, does that mean base coat 2 colors?
Yeah. We have the standard DACA 3-coat minimum, right? Wasn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
Primer plus 3 coats or something crazy.
Yeah. And
so the thing about painting is, should it be, as a tournament organizer, when you're building your tournament, how do you want painting to be involved?
Exactly.
And should it be part of the I think it only gets really nasty when painting is part of the overall win score.
Right.
If painting was a separate category, and you just felt
and
that
it is in some places.
In some, yes. And that's where I like. If the painting's a separate category and not part of the overall, there is no overall win.
Right.
If you've got equal prizes, one for best general, one for best painter, one for best sportsman.
Which is actually how you used to do it at DACA.
And the nice thing about that is the painting guys are having their own mini competition and playing for the heck of it. Right? Maybe there's some people that are doing both. And then you have the competitive guys who don't give or who do also care about painting, but it doesn't matter. And they have the sportsmanship guys who just there to have a good time.
Right.
And they all are competing for different prizes.
Yep.
And it's all good fun. It's when you group them all together, like GW does at GTs or other companies also sometimes do, that you get into trouble, right?
But the trouble, I mean, you only get into trouble if you're really good at playing the game, but really stink at painting, and all of a sudden there's no top general. The prize is top gamer.
Well,
because you have to assume you as a tournament organizer, you have to look at what exactly are you judging. Do you want the person who wins your overall event to be the best general, or do you want them to be the best overall hobbyist?
Well, where it really gets nasty is oftentimes that divisor between first and second is like 2 points.
Right.
And so the question is, do you want those 2 points to be won or lost on something subjective?
That's arbitrary.
Like painting, did he have as much highlighting as the other guy who you gave a 19 out of 22 and you only gave this guy an 18 out of 20? You know what I mean? Like, or the sportsmanship part coming in where some opponent just never gives out 10s for sportsmanship because he just doesn't like to. Mm-hmm. Other people do, so the guy loses by 1 point. That's where it gets very hairy in tournaments.
Yeah.
And so I do like the movement, and it's not just Privateer. A lot of the indie tournaments are starting to move away from this fuzziness, which I do like because I think it's just, it sounds good on paper, but when you start trying to implement it, it gets weird.
I mean, it's a lot more work. I personally think it's worth the work, but
yeah,
that's why we're all different people.
Now,
I'm with Greg on that. My favorite are the ones that you have in the same tournament, something like the Best Tactician Award, and then you have overall winner, which suggests that they were good in comp, sportsmanship, painting, and generalmanship. Right. I like those the best.
Yeah. Well, okay. And then next we have
me too.
How I want to throw another one in there. We used to do this at DACA, and we also do it at Games Day. At least they used to. I think they still do. Is trivia challenge.
Oh yeah.
So you had that little. We used to do a 10-question quiz, which was inspired by the GTs, the Games Workshop GTs, in the middle of the event. And what was great about the quiz is it would add 1 point for every correct answer onto your overall score, which is a great way to break up. So it's kind of like fluff knowledge challenge. And it would be really obscure questions like, the quote on the bottom of page 55 and things like that. I like that. I just broke it up a little bit, added a little bit of fun to the middle of it. But again, it definitely makes the tournament feel a little less like it's all about the game and winning.
Right.
So if you want that Wimbledon, like you are absolutely the best feeling, that's where tournaments like Privateer are going. If you want the more complete, it's almost like trying to compare a tournament like tennis to like a gymnastics tournament where there's a lot of subjective stuff going on, And I think that's where it gets to. So neither is wrong; it's just different.
Right.
And last is how you handle tiebreakers, because if you're not going to do VPs, how are you going to break ties? Even if you are going to have this best overall, you're still going to have a best general. So how do you break ties? And I have to say, I really like how Privateer has started doing this.
Surprise!
Yes. Well, they used to do it with VPs, and I have problems with VPs, as everybody else has mentioned, because of the sniping and everything else. They use strength of record, and I think strength of record is pretty smart. Basically, what that means is, if I am 4-0 and you are 4-0, so neither of you lost a game, so both of us technically are best generals that they're standing there. If the person you played in round 1 was me, who went 0-4, and the person the other guy played was the guy who went...
me. Oh, no.
It was the guy who went 3-1.
Yeah.
He clearly played a tougher day. In other words, another great example of that is if the game you lose is the last game, so let's say the two best generals there are 3-1 each. If the game you lose is the last game, you've played progressively better players each round. If the only game you lost was the first game, you went down to the middle of the pack and worked your way up. So you played an easier venue. So the strength of record is harder to calculate. The reason a lot of people don't do it is it's a pain in the butt.
It's
unless you got good
difficult.
software or some kind of really good logic or whatever. It's tricky, but I think it's probably one of the fairest ways to do it. Now, you could argue there's some luck in there because the first round is totally a draw. Who knows who you're going to get? But no matter how you do it, there's some luck in tournaments. I mean, that's just the way it is. It's
right.
The terrain you get, the
We
army
are
you get paired
talking
up
about
with.
games with dice.
We are. So there's no way around that. But I think the strength of record is a nice way to break it. Anybody got any other better ideas for tiebreakers?
No.
Rafe?
Yeah, I'd sort of do. It's a pitch for something you created a long time ago.
Yeah.
Did your software that you create, would that handle strength of record stuff?
We didn't do strength of record back then, but it could have. I mean, there's software out there now that does that, and there's people have spreadsheets.
Oh, there is?
Yeah.
Okay.
But there was. We had software to do our tournament. What our software did was it would figure out pairings based on the Swiss system, and it would also make sure you didn't play the same table and things like that. Because we had a lot of pre-built terrain tables, so you didn't want everybody stuck on the jungle table all the time. All right, and the last thing I want to talk about, and
this is how you know you're a geek, when you wrote this word.
Metagame.
Yeah.
Bum, bum, bum. Now, I know, Hollywood, you were concerned because you were afraid
No, that's
that...
me.
Oh, the metagame was going to be too much about a specific game.
No, that it's miniature game specific. Yeah,
well, it is. Yeah, we should say most of this is miniature game specific. If it's a board game tournament,
all the tournament stuff basically is still the
the
organizing.
first half was
and
good,
everything. Yep.
but don't worry about the VPs and sportsmanship. I mean, well, you might have
I don't know.
sportsmanship.
Do they have sportsmanship in Scrabble?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think it's more like tennis.
I wouldn't want to play a jerk in Scrabble.
Maybe they just put swear words down on the board.
Ooh,
you
could do that. Oh, I had a couple that I'd like to use in Game 3.
Here's a couple. Yeah. Here's what we mean when people talk about the metagame. Here's what we're talking about.
Hey, Russ,
yes?
Does the metagame scale?
Nice. Well, it could. Actually, scale does affect the metagame planning. Let's put it that way. So what we're talking about here is that when you're building your army list and planning your strategy before the tournament, so like a good player, you're getting plenty of rest, you're drinking all your fluids, you're getting ready to go, and you're trying to think what list you're going to bring. Well, the metagame is what outside factors that are parameterized by the tournament itself are going to parameterized.
That might be some future content.
Yeah, I was
right
going to
there.
say, mark this on the tape.
Parameterized is a word.
Parameterized?
It is. Parameterized queries.
Parameterized.
Okay, anyway.
I think it's a nerd thing.
It is. Okay. Anyway, what I'm trying to say here, in
Is
not so basic speak, is that you want to look at what the hell am I trying to say?
I don't know.
I think that parameterized items do scale. However,
here's an example. If you know the tournament is going to be timed, and they mostly are, but let's say it's going to be timed very rapidly. Let's say you're Craig, and you really don't like the idea of a 12-minute turn. You think that's way too short.
I'm Craig.
Here's the army you bring. If you're a GW player, you bring Dark Angels. Why? Because there's like 10 models in your army, and you can move them all in 12 minutes. You do not bring the 150-model Tyranid force, because that army will not move in 12 minutes. Or you don't bring the Cricks for the Warmachine Hordes players. You don't bring a Cricks army of infantry. You bring a Warjack heavy army. So basically, it doesn't matter what game, Flames of War or whatever, you build a tank company. What you want to do is if you think time's going to be a problem, don't bring an army that you know takes you longer to decide what to do and move than if you do. So there's an example of a metagame consideration. I just like that.
That's good.
All right. Another one.
It's probably why I don't win tournaments.
Well, I don't win tournaments either.
I don't think
actually, I used
level.
to, but not.
I don't think at this level either.
Well,
I'm like, this guy looks cool. That's what I think.
What I did like about the Warmachine tournament, I can, if I study up, I think I could get better at that game, and that's what makes me excited about it. So,
true. Very true.
But anyway, I'm going to. I'll be Bach. Anyway,
I will not.
So
that's not as exciting a quote.
So time limits.
Won't be Bach.
Time limits are one thing, and Sid and I did play test before going down there for that kind of stuff. The other thing you want to look at is expected opponent types. Now, this is done all the time. You see this
like hammerheads and stuff?
No. I mean factions you expect to fight.
Oh.
For example, on the World of Games Workshop, people will use the term, here, you ready for this? Mech equivalent.
MEQ.
Or MEX, MEQ, which stands for Marine Equivalents. And what that means is basically toughness 4, 3+ armor save, ballistic skill 4, Chaos Marines, Sisters of Battle, well, they're not toughness 4, but still. Anything in power armor, basically. Necrons, Space Marines. If you feel the majority of the armies that are going to be present are a certain kind of army, you would probably want to design your army in a way differently than if you felt there would be a different kind play. And on the Privateer Press side, here's a big example too. You get to bring dual lists to Privateer Press, but even so, if you're going to a Warmachine Hordes mixed event, that has different implications than a Hordes-only event or a Warmachine only event. You know
That's
what I mean?
true.
So
that's true.
So what you're planning to expect, what you think's going to be there based on whatever the new hotness is. You hear this on Podhammer all the time, right? Well, the new hotness is vampire counts. If you go to a tournament not ready to hand vampires, you're done, right? So you have to kind of know. You have to. If you just go over a tournament for the hell of it, have fun, go to sleep. But if you're really serious about this stuff, you got to really nail down some of these things. You got to be willing to go.
What?
No, Russ is right. I mean, I'm just thinking about it. I mean, it's true.
How could I give up a shot like that?
And
if Hordes is hot, and you bring a caster whose feat has nothing to do with Hordes, well, you're hamstringing yourself.
Right. Now, the other thing too is, and so this is the end of metagame. So what is going on outside that's going to affect who's going to be there, what you're going to fight? So in addition to timing and opponent types, you also have terrain types. Now, this is a big deal. In some venues, like the GTs of old at GW, there was a fixed type of terrain. There would always be 2 trees and 2 hills. Always. On a flat green table.
And one ruined.
Or something. You knew the exact component of the terrain.
Isn't that a U2 song?
I don't know.
No.
If you know the terrain type exactly, even if you don't know exactly where it is, for example, if you know there's no water on the table, and there are units in your army that take advantage of water, well, don't bring them. Things like that. If you know you're going to a venue with a lot of different varieties of terrain, you're going to probably want to build a different list than if you know you're going to have a good chance of doing a lot of shooting because it's a wide open table. That's why I think venues like Danger Planet and DACA of old and other places were really fun because they have all these wacky terrains you don't really see at a tournament. Because for the most part of tournaments, you see a flat green terrain with a couple of hills and a couple, copses of trees, and that's pretty much it.
The new term for tonight is of old.
Of old.
In days of old, when gamers were bold and Russ was known as Rusty.
Oh, God.
The next competition will be finished.
It's getting late. And last but certainly not least, and this segment's going really long, but I think it's interesting. Hopefully you do too. I
like the sidebars.
Missions. If you're lucky,
I like how Russ just keeps on.
He does. He's like a juggernaut.
I have to, or we'll never end.
He's like one of the brave knights of old.
I'm talking about it.
Oh, God. Are you done? Are you finished? Are you finished? Can I talk now?
I cannot be held responsible for what happens
lastly,
after 11.
But not least, is missions. And
by your computer clock, it is 11:01.
Thank you, Craig. There's a lot of editing to do this episode, apparently. Missions. If they publish the missions in advance, that's going to affect your list too, right? Look at the missions carefully, understand what they're saying. If there are missions out there that require you to move to the center of the table, the kind of army you're going to bring and build is going to be totally different than if it's a lot of missions you can sit back and shoot. So keep that in mind also. Look at your missions. And so that's the idea of the metagame. When you hear people talk about metagame, that's what they're talking about. Any other comments besides
No. I thought you did a great job. And I apologize from the bottom of my heart for being rude.
Yeah. All right.
As any rude man of old would do.
Today's edition is brought to you by Radish Jack, again, who wants you to know that there is really nothing damn stupid that humans won't do. Too true, Jack. Too true. Did you ever notice that in every group of gamers there are the guys who deep down inside are ashamed that they're gamers? Whether they cling to an emotionally stunted idea of coolness, or their self-image just doesn't allow for any geek culture to intrude unalloyed, these guys are always trying to prove to everyone, not least of all themselves, that they can play games and still be cool. The first sign of this gamer guilt is poor vocabulary. How many of you have been standing around at a convention or tournament enjoying a little downtime, hanging out with friends or people you've just met? There are, as always, some kids around, watching the older gamers with a gleam of someday in their eyes, and then someone drops a massive steaming load of F-bomb right into the conversation group, and they're completely oblivious. Little kids standing right there, and all of a sudden, I hate that f***ing model, or those guys butt-f***ed my entire army last tournament. Now, do these words really bring a lot to the table? No. There are plenty of ways to express your displeasure with a model, or your frustration with an opponent, without resorting to ridiculous language like that. The greatest communicators in the world managed without a f*** or a shit thrown in. Why can't you? Want to know why? Because cool kids swear, folks. That's right. Cool kids swear. Or kids who believe in that ephemeral quality they call cool and think it's worth striving for and emulating, those kids who think of themselves as cool kids, they swear. And a person who plays games but aggressively wants people to know they're still cool puts it out there verbally as a banner or a standard which they can wave around in case there are any girls wandering about. Hey ladies, don't judge me by these assholes. I'm a f***ing cool kid. Another way gamer guilt comes across is unnecessary aggression or inappropriate trash talking. Firstly, these are games we're playing, and the first and foremost goal of everyone playing them should be to have fun. Now, I know there are people out there who can only have fun when they're crushing their opponent, which is unfortunate from an emotional development point of view, but there you go. And it's okay. When it's not okay is when you bring that aggression into the social sphere of the gaming environment. If you've never met the guy across the table from you, don't tell him you're going to ape his models. Don't respond to an honest question of, what if the spell goes off? Can my guys do X next round? With, they're gonna be dead, so don't f***ing worry about it. That kind of trash talking and aggression is fine with your friends, should they be of that particular bent, or in a tournament after you've established a rapport with your opponent, but right off the bat, yeah, looks like I'm really gonna f*** you, just isn't the way to make a good impression. And of course, we haven't even scratched the surface of the relationship between gamer guilt and constant alcohol and sexual references. Some of us do drink and like girls, boys. Then again, some of us talk about it all the time. The more you talk about it, the more you might like to revisit your childhood and see if you haven't left something behind. In the end, what every gamer should know is that the further you get from high school, the less the term cool carries any sort of important meaning. The longer you cling to that concept and strive to meet it, the more you deny what is truly cool about yourself. Believe me, there will be plenty of people you meet on the road of life who will judge you for what you enjoy and how it does not conform to what they think of as cool. But in the end, the judgment falls on them and their emotionally stunted and intellectually bankrupt worldview. And you know what I say to those guys? I just say, f*** them.
Achievement unlocked! You've made it to the end of another D6 Generation episode, the podcast whose humor has universally been acclaimed as not too horrible. Please let us know what you thought of the show by either emailing us at info@the d6generation.com or by posting in our official D6G episode thread at the top of the DACA discussions forum on DACA.com. If for some inexplicable reason you actually enjoyed this show, you can help others find out about it by leaving positive reviews on iTunes. See you in 2 weeks. Thanks for listening, and happy gaming. Shh! You've discovered a D6G Easter egg. The following is a recording of the awards ceremony from the Warmachine Hordes team tournament. If you listen carefully, you might even hear Russ being embarrassed.
All right, we're going to start at the bottom, and we're going to move on up.
I have a feeling I'm around there.
I can try, yeah. All right, so one of our best awards that we love to give out, which is for the player who had no luck at all during the day, and it's all luck. It wasn't skill-based at all. And we give them an award so that they'll come back and keep playing even after the trouncing that they received, even at the hands of 10-year-olds. So, the award for the Better Luck Next Time.
That's Better Luck Next Time prize.
It's not even right.
Russ Wakeman! What did I tell you? You wanted
Thank you, gentlemen. That's brilliant.
All right, in another unrelated category, nothing to do with skill, but just if your army is fully painted, we do a random drawing among everyone who's fully painted. We had 9 players that were fully painted during round 2 today. We rolled dice to determine among the remaining players that were still here, and the winner of that one is Bo Daly.
Painted armies here.
All right, one of those random ones. All right, we're gonna go to faction awards now. Right, so starting with the Hordes players, we have a best in Troll Bloods, and that's gonna be Tyler Daly.
Nice.
Beating out the highly skilled Craig Gallant from the D6 generation, the other
Nice.
player.
Say that once more loudly towards the
Beating out Craig Gallant, the other D6 generation player.
Oh, that's all.
An amazing Trollbook player and painter. Check out his army; it's cool. Lots of good stuff in there. All right, the next award goes to the top scoring player of the day. That's Mean Gene Delacruz. There you go.
Hey,
another one.
That's cool.
He's pretty good at scoring.
Two other
players.
Another score player.
Be quiet, Eric.
Yeah.
add it to
a
his
top
friend.
Legion.
Nice.
No, not me. No, this guy's best overall. For reports. Third place overall. No.
Uh-oh.
All right, so top Legion player is Sid Wong, also for the D6 generation.
Nice job.
And the next thing we're going to do is move on to
You pay for your stunt
the other
double.
stuff doubles up. So our best merc player is Tucker Salio. Come on down, Sarge's Comics.
That's cool. You won one of those too, didn't you? What you talking about that a while ago? Yeah, that was cool.
Our best Protectorate player is Nick Hurley. Come on down. Our best Signar player, Danger Planet's own Craig Conroy. Here, I'll throw the tape. All right, now we move into the top. What are you doing? Okay, we're moving into the top 3 now for the overall standing. So our third place player and our best overall Hordes player is Matt from Albany by way of St. Louis. So you get 3 coins.
Wow.
And you get this as well.
Hold on.
You get a gift certificate.
A lovely parting gift.
I get bling bling.
There you go.
Nice.
Faction, third place, and
all right.
overall Horde.
Our second place overall winner is Alex from New Jersey. That was determined by strength of schedule. He was undefeated, but Norbert had a slightly higher strength of schedule. Oh, I gave it away.
You gave it away.
Gave it away.
Oh!
You gave it away.
We can pretend we don't know.
You still get 2 shiny coins. And our overall winner is Norbert Plankador.
Woo!
Yeah, Norbert. There you go. Now, and you can give this to Alex.
Get out of the way, Alex.
I gave it to
Okay.
him.
Yeah, there we go.
Walking with you.
And if you haven't figured it out, they're both from New Jersey. So the overall winner of the team tournament and the trophy is the New Jersey SOB. Where's your third player? Come on, where's your crew? Oh, Matt, you want to go? Where? All right, good. And Norbert? Okay.
All right, guys.
Another photo op time.
I'll never watch this one.
All right, and then the best prize of the day, and the trophy's great and everything, but all 3 of the players on that top team are going to receive free admission to TempleCon 2009.
We want to thank TempleCon for sponsoring the course team.
Matt Marvin is going to say a few words about this.
Don't forget, if you want to hear more interviews with the folks from the tournament, be sure to check out the D6 Generation incoming mailbag episode, which should be out a few days after this episode publishes. Thanks for listening. Happy gaming.